Well,
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of We're Talking to You. I'm J. Dot, aka J. Dominique, the man that served food for thought to the haves and the have-nots, and
I'm your neighborhood old head, Prometheus. I'm the one who stole fire from the gods and brought it to you, the people.
And today we got a very, very special guest in the house, man. We got one of my old childhood friends, a gentleman that wears many hats, has been in the music industry as a producer and wearing a number of different hats for well over 30 years. And what we're going to do today is we're going to sit and reminisce and we're going to talk about, you know what I'm saying, growing up hip hop and how hip hop used to be when we were first introduced to it all the way up into we get to modern times. We'll hit a lot of different topics in between. Hopefully, for those of you that have grew up in the genre of music, we'll be able to take you back in the time machine. We'll be able to get you to thinking about all of the ways in which the four pillars or the four elements of hip hop influenced your life coming up, and then it'll give you something to reminisce about. And then we'll talk about the state of hip hop as it is today. But as we always do, let me break out with the monologue first. So if you don't mind, here we go. Hip hop is not just music, it's a language, a lens of lived experiences. For some, it's entertainment, but for us, it was identity. It was how we made sense of where we came from, what we were going through, and who we were trying to become. Back in the early 80s and 90s, before streams, before social media, before everyone had a platform, hip hop felt different. It felt raw. It felt local. It felt like it belonged to the people who created it. And for me, it built real connections like the ones I've had today with today's guest. We just didn't listen to the culture, we were trying to contribute to it. But hip hop has evolved. The sounds changed, the business changed, the access changed. The question is, what did we gain in that evolution and what did we lose? Today, we're not going to just reminisce, we're going to unpack the journey from the inside. 30 plus years in the game, experience on both sides of the mic and behind the boards, and a firsthand view of how the culture and the industry is transformed. So, this conversation will be about more than just music, it'll be about power, influence, responsibility, and what hip hop means to us now. So, let's talk about it. Gentlemen, let's start. So, the first and obvious question that I feel like we should start with is very simple, right? So, give me a second to pull up my questions and we'll get started. Okay, so let's go in the order of Chifa and then Pro. You can double back, and then I'll bring up the rear. So let's talk about the origins of hip hop, like the jump off point. So the first question that is obvious, but I think it's going to be the most impactful is what drew you to hip hop, and when did this happen? Chifa, Seattle, you up first.
You're on mute, dog.
I got you.
There you go. We
Can you
got
hear
you.
me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then cool. Well, yeah, man, it had to be my family though, because about like 6, 7 years old, watching my uncle make beats and shit like all day. Run out. He used to run around with mix a lot and stuff like that. And to this day, I still think he's the guy that made the 808 though. So learning structure of how to produce beats and make the beats and put ones and twos together was probably from him. You know what I'm saying? No, but he was local. Then my cousin Anthony Shaw, he was the rapper. My uncle was the producer. So it just kind of blended. But that was like my first experience with it, breakdance and everything.
Hey, wow. It's dope you said the 808, man. I'm taking me back to like the early 90s with the 808 productions. Just like if you're a fan of hip hop and music, you know an 808 riff beat. You just know it when you hear it. But to
Oh
answer that
yeah,
question,
yeah, all done it.
I don't know how I became a fan of hip hop. I can just tell you one of my earliest memories of hip hop that affected me. So okay, I remember my mother having Curtis Blow albums. So I remember certain songs, but
Mm.
that didn't really grab me because those would be her friends, her parties, my aunties, my mother. I'd have to go upstairs when them songs came on, like when they were partying. I could tell you in 1983, Run DMC dropped that one song. It was a precursor to King of Rap. It's the other one that has the rock and roll beat. What's the name of it? Hold on, let me pull it up.
Walk
No,
This
no,
Way.
even before that. This is 1983, so I'm 5 years old. And I remember sitting on my grandmother's porch, and the older kids were down on the corner breakdancing. But what I remember about this is the
Mm,
fact that I remember my grandmother and saying to me, like they said like turn this damn racket down. So for whatever it was,
mm,
it was racket, it was noise, but it was just something about that racket and that noise that spoke to us. When I say us, my generation. So hold on, it's fucking with me because I need to have this song. But when I remember this, like I remember where I was when the man on the radio says, "Hey, number 9 song, Run DMC, such and such, such and such," and it was on the Rock Box song,
rock
Rock
box.
Yeah.
Box.
That's it
And it
too.
was something about DMC. It's
Yeah.
something about DMC's voice. Now, Run DMC made that song, but I was telling Jay, when DMC comes on that song, I still get tears in my eyes. I don't know if I get tears in my eyes because of the bar itself, if it was the cadence, the rhythm, or if it just takes me back to a time like I remember sitting on my grandmother's porch. My grandmother passed away a few years ago, and it was just a different time.
Sorry to hear that.
And I think it's some of that nostalgia of 1983. Whether we were poor, whether we
Mm,
were rich, whether we were whatever we were, we didn't know we were anything but kids, right? Some people, crack came on the scene, crack was around, but we didn't know what it was. What we did know is that there was this sound, and then there was this style, and it just took us in a chokehold. And this would have been 1983, Southwest Philadelphia, the springtime.
Dope.
mm.
So picture hopping on a plane, traveling all the way across the United States, continental United States, landing on the West Coast, right? Right around that same time, 83, 84. I was introduced to hip hop music through my older cousin who at that point in time I idolized, right? I believe he has to be no more than about 6 to 7 years older than me. But I know that he was at ground zero when hip hop first hit the West Coast. He was part of a break dancing crew. I remember when they started really break dancing in the Central District in the community I was growing up in, and my cousin was getting a little bit of clout for two reasons. One, because they were in one of the first original break dancing crews in the Central, but also because they were actually really good at it, right? And everything from the pop locking to the actual b-boying to the break dancing itself. I remember as a little
Mhm.
kid coming down my grandmother's stairs and just sitting at the second or third to the bottom stair, sitting there watching them taking the cardboard boxes. At that point in time, my grandmother worked for the Washington State Liquor Board, and so she would bring home cardboard boxes at his request. And I remember them breaking down the cardboard boxes, getting out the little duct tapes and taping together the cardboard boxes so that they had a little platform to kind of work on their footwork and all that stuff. And I remember sitting there as a kid watching him and his crew going through sequences, putting together little routines and all that. And when they would leave, they would do it for hours, just practicing. And when they would leave, they would all break out and he would leave the cardboard down. And so I would just go throw on some sweatpants real quick, come back down there, and I start trying to mimicking the stuff that they were doing, right? And I remember when he came in one day and I started showing him some of the stuff that I was mimicking them doing, and he came up with the idea like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in the act." You know what I'm saying? Because you always get a little fanfare when you have a little 6, 7 year old kid doing whatever on stage, right? So, and I remember them actually
Mhm.
working me into the routine, and I'm doing break dancing, popping, getting down, doing the little Douglas flare with the little legs out, going into the little helicopter, all that stuff, and then I throw a little beanie on, and then do the little head spin and all that stuff. And to make a long story short, they actually had gained a little bit of notoriety, so that when hip hop acts came into town, his crew, along with a couple other breakdancing crews, would always open up for him, right? So I remember
mm,
old school Kingdom, old school Kingdom was there.
mm.
Uh, Grandmaster Flash the Furious Five was there. UTFO and somebody else had came into town, and so we worked on a routine, and we are gonna go down and be one of the acts that helped to open up for them. And everything was a go until my grandmother found out that it was gonna be after 8 o'clock when we were gonna go there, and so she shut it down. And so she told my cousin that I couldn't go. And yeah. Yeah, that kind of splattered my pipe dream on that. But because anything that he showed an interest in, I showed an interest in because I idolized him. But he introduced that to me so much so that as I start tracing how I made my way through the hip hop culture, I tried a little bit of everything except for I never really got into DJing. That really wasn't something. I mean, you had to have some money to get some turntables. I wasn't inclined to go down to Radio Shack. Radio Shack was open at that point in time. I'm not the gizmos and gadgets kind of guy that Chifa is. Like this dude would splice together and put together all kinds of stuff and have it in the circuit. So I didn't really get
Mm.
involved in the actual DJing part, but we'll talk about the MCing part. Definitely into the breakdancing, tagging all over everything. I think every kid that grew
Oh
up in
yeah.
the mid 80s was practicing their tag handle and was practicing, especially when iconic movies like Beat Street and Breaking,
Breaking one
all
and
those
two.
Electric
came out.
Boogaloo.
Actually, Boogaloo, yeah. So for me, man,
Yeah.
somewhere right there in about 83 through 85 was when hip hop was introduced to me. So let's take it a step deeper though. So let's go a little bit deeper into this, and let's go with the second question. So the second question is how was hip hop represented in your neighborhood or in your community at the time when you were coming up, when it was first really taking hold? So kind of think about the experience around you. What did hip hop look like, say in Southwest Philly or in the South End of Seattle? So just paint us a picture of what hip hop looked like when you was a young shorty coming up and it was all around you. Chifa?
Oh me. Oh, okay then. Well, the biggest thing in hip hop that I could see back then and listen to all the music that I couldn't listen to at Granny's house. My uncle always used to have a boom box right up there on his shoulder. So I always used to run with him and go off with him and stuff like that. But right there, and just the gear they wear, they had the little ab shirts, and a lot of them niggas look gay and shit like that, though. But that's not the point. You know what I'm saying? But they had ab shirts, the little gloves on and stuff like that. That was their gear. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't in no gang. They just used to dress like that. You know what I mean? For real. Like if you look at the Michael Jackson video when he had all the gangbangers in it, that's what hip hop looked like back then in '84 in the South, End, '85. Because I didn't leave and go back east until like what, 80, I think 86, 85, 86. Completely different over there. Everybody was fashionable, always had to have the new gear, some Tim's. Like that was mandatory out that motherfucker. You ain't got a pair of Tim's, you ain't got no bitch. You know what I mean? Real talk. But that's what it was like though. You was the square that boys with Jones on you all day, everybody clowning, but it was just all in fun and games with hip hop though, man, for real. I mean, you learn to love that shit though. But that boombox was very pivotal. I mean, that was the point right there. And you know the Walkmans, everybody got the Walkman, the little yellow ones, the shock proofs, got their headphones on. Everybody, that was it though. You can tell by the way they was just dancing with the Walkman on, clamp to their belts. But that's what it was for me though. You get your great tape, you go see who's coming out, you get your mixtape for real, like whatever. You used to do the little mixes, you put all your songs on the one tape, like how we used to do back in the day. So that was cool. But I'm 8 years old, 7 years old back then, just loving it like all day. You know, I couldn't wait till the '90s here, but I'll talk about that later.
Right. Hey, but just think about it. You
Yeah,
just described who Spike Lee kind of captured, remember, and turned into this iconic character and do the right thing. Radio Raheem, right? Radio
Radio
Raheem
Ryan. Yeah,
was the embodiment of what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That big
yeah.
boombox. You know what I'm saying? And if you tell
That
these kids
big
these
boom
days
box.
about a boombox, they would be like, a boombox? What are you talking about? You know what I'm
Man,
saying?
Dog, man, I wish I could find
so listen,
one. For real.
so I would say somewhere I put you in the scene, somewhere between like I told y'all, my first encounter for hip hop for me was '83. So somewhere between '83 and '85 is when I became conscious of what I guess hip hop was. We didn't know it as hip hop back then. It was just rap music, right? And this would
Mm-hmm.
be a time when you barely got a black entertainer on MTV, or we said this thing called night tracks. You might get
Yeah.
a you might get Billy Ocean, right? Or Michael Jackson or Lionel Richie. So rap music was this thing that existed, but we ain't know where it came from. And I give you an example. In Philly, you always had somebody who was either in the streets or in some sort of business, legal or illegal, and they would either go to New York or DC. So when they came back from New York or
Mm-hmm.
DC, they would have a bunch of tapes or albums, or back then you had 45s, right? Little
Oh
small
yeah.
albums. So somebody would have 45s, they would pass out, or like if your aunt went to her whatever beauty shop she went to, the lady in there would also be selling some other stuff and be like, "Hey, girl, check this whoever it was, right?" That's where I had heard my first Fat Boy album, or from the Fat Boys. But at the time,
Mm.
it wasn't called the Fat Boys. It was called like Treacherous 3 or Dope Boy 3 or something. It wasn't called the Fat Boys as we know them, but it was the Fat Boys. And
Mm.
and I remember because they were kind of gimmicky because they were fat, but I still remember like just like the human beatbox, right?
Oh man.
Right?
That's Marky D.
Yes.
Yeah. Come on.
And then I remember how you said like the cat. So it was always one or two dudes in Philly. We had this cat named Cud, right? And Cud's what we know him by. I won't put his government out because I don't know where he's at in life, what he's got going on. But Cud's dad was in the streets, so Cud always was geared up for the time, right? He had British Knights on. He always had British Knights. He had whatever the cool shit was, he had it, right?
Yeah.
And he had a big ass radio. So him, Porky, and Porky's older brother would be outside because they had the big radio and they had the two tape deck radio. See, back then you could get a little
Do
radio, but
this.
they
Do
had to do
tape.
it with the two tape decks. So
Yeah.
they would be on the corner with the cardboard breakdancing. And that's where I heard sounds like I heard UTFO. I heard
Mm.
the Fat Boys. I heard Kumo D. I remember going to the movies to see Crush Groove, thinking that was like the coolest thing. I'm not even old enough to tell you the plot line behind Crush Groove. I just know like all the rappers that I had known up until then were in Crush Groove. Like I said, Fat Boys, LL Cool J, Dana Dane.
Yeah.
Heavy D.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
right.
You can't forget about Heavy D.
So this would be '83 to '85. Again, I'm only 7'8", so I'm not old enough to do a lot of the things on my own, but I'm now
Mm-hmm.
getting hip hop secondhand. So if I'm on the corner
Mm.
with my sister who's older, or if I'm on the corner with like my homeboys who had older brothers and siblings around, or my cousins came around, so they would have been like 11 through 15. They would have had the tapes, and then we would have run around back and heard them drop the F bomb cussing. So that was like the coolest shit to hear somebody cursing on the radio, right? Like I remember also there was like 20 different Roxannes. There was Roxanne Shante, the real Roxanne, Roxanne
Yeah.
UTFO, and I mean
Mm.
they went back and forth. And I remember hearing like you would hear like the Roxanne song, and then you would hear Roxanne's Revenge. And these was like diss raps and battle raps going back and forth each other. So
Oh
this
yes, sir.
what is it like? This would have been like '86, you know? And then I remember my mom
86. Yeah.
had
Somebody.
a Dougie Fresh album with the show with MC
Yeah.
Ricky D, Lottie Dottie, we like to party, we don't
The
cause trouble,
body.
we don't know
Trouble. We don't
anybody,
bother nobody.
but just someone who
Oh,
might
Slick
or,
Rick.
or what's the other one Slick Rick had? Do
Mm.
do 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 do. Did you hear
Children's
that beat?
story.
No, not Children's Story.
Children's Story.
Mona
You
Lisa.
showed
Mona
that was a
Lisa.
cut.
Oh, Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa.
When you
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I
Mm-hmm.
still to this day know when you're bum, bum, bum,
Mm.
bum, right. So that's my when I'm so okay. Now I'm about 7, 8, 9. So I'm getting hip hop secondhand, but I'm starting to come in. I'm old enough to ask now. I remember I got a tape for my 8th birthday, and I got the Fat Boy tape, and it was the one I don't remember the name of it, but it's the one where they like smash on the car, and it had the one song "Falling in Love." It had the other one "Wipe Out" on it,
Oh,
I
and
remember
Wipeout.
Wipeout.
right
Yeah, that was the cut.
for every. But it was funny for the Fat Boys, right? Rest in peace, uh, Prince Marky D. Rest in peace, Big Buff. Is that
Man.
they were very gimmicky, but for every one crossover song they had about 3 bangers that we played in the hood that like
Yeah.
you had to be a fan of the Fat Boys to actually be like, yo, that's bars. Like that song Can You Feel It? And Drew Down wind up hijacking that beat in like the early 90s, right? You remember that
Mm-hmm.
beat?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
a fat
sir.
that's a Fat Boy beat. So to answer your question, like I really started to develop in the hip hop between 85 through 89. And that's why I tell people I consider myself second generation, second and 2.5 generation hip hop. First generation would have been like the late 70s. What's the guy? Have you ever went over to your friend's house to eat and the turkey was no good?
Biz Markie.
No, like
Bismarck. Was it Biz? It wasn't
no,
Biz, but Big still from that era though too, though.
no, like late 70s would have been Sugar Hill Gang, right?
Oh, Sugar
Yeah,
Hill.
Rapper's Delight. Yeah,
Rappers are like
Rapper's Delight.
Africa
Yeah.
Bambaataa. I wouldn't have had that album.
Mm.
I would have heard those songs, but I wouldn't have remembered where I was the first time I heard that, right? But
Because it wasn't that relevant to you yet.
yes, but I was only born in '78.
Yeah.
But
I was born 77, so I get it. He was
but
born in 1700, so that nigga.
when LL Cool J said, "What's my DJ name?" Cut Creator, right? I could tell you where I was at when Rock the Bells came out. I can tell you when I say, "Hey,
Oh man.
have y'all ever listened to as an old school hip hop?" And I'm gonna pass the mic. LL Cool J's "Rock the Bells" has the same beat that Run DMC's Peter Piper Pickers. Well, Peter if the one with Peter where it said Peter Piper Pickers and Run Rock Rhyme something 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 Humpty Dumpty fell down and it is time the turntable
Hmm.
wallet but they don't fall down. When we get done, go back and listen to "Rock the Bells" LL Cool J, and then go
Oh
listen to
yeah.
Run DMC's I don't know that one song. And but I remember hearing these songs in real time on the radio. I remember tuning
Yes,
into
sir.
in Philly. We had Power 99, right? So like the 9 at 9 came
Hmm.
on at 9 o'clock at night. It would do the countdown. I remember when not Chuck D, Public Enemy's "Don't Believe the Hype" was #1 forever, right?
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, that was it.
So 88 now is when I really got into like, yo, this is for me. This is my thing. And that would have been like I would have been the Stetson Sonics, the Cool Mo D's, the Public Enemies, still into
Mm.
the Fat Boys. This is before, this is when you had. It's around time when NWA came out. They was raising a little bit of hell, so it was like Easy Does It, but it still wasn't fully like gangster rap. In my opinion, hadn't taken off. But we had had that dude Cool G Rap was pretty. He was pretty
Cool
hardcore
G.
before it was cool to be hardcore. And there was another cat from Philly, Schoolie D, 6 in the Morning,
Schoolie D.
and Ice T.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back and
6 in the morning.
if you go back and
Police
look
at
at
my door. Yeah.
if you go back and look at that Breaking, I think it's Breaking 2. You see Ice T in there.
Yeah.
I see in everything. For real.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
He New York
he's definitely
undercover, whatever show.
he is
Yeah,
definitely groundbreaking, ground level. Man, now I hear you two talking, like it's like I don't know about you two, but like these images are flooding back. And it's crazy because living in that time, it's not easy to understand because you're like still in the forest, so you're amongst the trees. You don't even really understand
you don't even
how
know what
things
you.
are being shaped. And back to the reference point, I got involved with breakdancing because my older cousin was breakdancing And then by that time, a couple years into that, he decided to start writing rhymes, and his MC name was MC Stein, like Frankenstein. So because he's like, I'm a monster on the microphone type shit. You know what I'm saying? But my neighborhood actually changed, and I believe it really, really had a lot to do with the infusion of hip hop. And here's what I recall, because everyone at one point in time was walking around dressing like Run DMC and LL Cool J to the best of their ability. So there was a lot of suits, track suits. Everyone had on the shell toe Adidas. They came through the Kangos with the do rag underneath there.
Oh
And
yeah.
it had to have no waves. It wasn't even about it. It was just about a style that was starting, and it wasn't even really something where us on the West Coast we was like, oh man, that's how that dudes in the East Coast dress. We didn't even conceptualize
Hmm.
a concept of the East Coast being the Mecca, because we didn't know that all of the rappers were
Yeah.
out of the East Coast. We didn't know all the production, all of the record labels, all
Hmm.
this was on the East Coast. We just knew that when MTV Raps first really hit the scene, and Fab Five Freddy was the host, and he started
That's
introducing
fine.
everybody all around the country and around the world to these various artists, right? We just did what any kid would do. We just emulated that, right? So in the central part of the city where I lived at, there became these two crews, right? And it started on some break dance type shit, right? They just two totally
Hmm.
different crews, and I'm gonna tell you the names of their groups, and it's gonna date us so you can see just how this is 1980s type shit. So one of the very very first groups, dance crews that clicked up in the Central District, they called themselves OSC, which stood for back then Old School Crushers, right? So you had the Old School Crushers
Hmm.
was this own little entity, and we used to have every summer we would have like the Black Festival and all these little things where people from all around the city would come in together, right? South End CD would all come together, and I remember being a kid running around in the park where they have this big festival, this big celebration, and the dudes from OSC coming in with the OSC shirts on the names with the OSC on the front of their shirts, and their names, whatever their street names, rap names, breakdancing names, on the back of their
Hmm.
shirt, and they all had on the same color. I remember them walking through at least maybe 15 to 20 something deep, and it really took everybody back, because up to that point, you had some old folks that would come out and kick their feet, and you had us little knuckleheads running around, but gangs hadn't hit the city at that point in time. No one really was running around saying, we're in a crew, but they came through and they had the OSC. And I remember asking my cousin, what does OSC stand for? And he told me it's Old School Crushers, right? So that's just one little thing. And then I remember about a year, maybe the next Black Festival or the one after that. Now you have another group that came through and they had something different on their shirt. So you had OSC, and now we see JUN on these dudes' shirts.
Hmm.
So JUN stood for Just Us Ends, right? And I didn't understand the politics of that when I was a kid. I was enamored by it because I'm like, oh man, they all looked up. They got Kangos on, like they're in full fledged beat street breaking attire out
Dookie
in the
chain
middle.
ropes.
Yeah, in the middle, five finger rings, hey, boom
Yeah, and
boxes, right?
Oh,
Alpina glasses,
Yeah,
yeah.
Alpina
That
sunglasses.
was the, but that was yeah, that was a dope dealer's dog. You already
yeah,
know.
yeah.
For
So
real.
you
But let me
have
say
this
this.
big part.
Can
Go
I say
ahead.
that too? But like
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Philly, being like 7, 8, 9, I didn't know they was dope dealers either. I just remember some cats would show up with like we had troop sweatsuits back then,
yeah.
right? People wore
And
Oh,
troop
all
MCM,
day. I remember the
MCM shoes.
troop joints though, man.
so,
And
so
the Coogis.
motherfuckers show up with a troop sweatsuit, a dookie rope chain, some finger rings, and we had these ugly sunglasses. Even as kids, I thought they was ugly, but it's called Alpinas, right? If you look at the Paid in
Hmm.
Full movie, Alpo Kid, he had those on. But this is just, and these cats would show up, and now I know what they did. Now I'm an adult, but at 7, 8, 9, I just thought these were some cool ass dudes.
Yeah.
We all
That, and, that,
did.
and that's my point. Is what I'm saying. When I'm able to look back in retrospect, hip hop was actually shaping the landscape of the community, because you have this big park called Judkins Park. It's a field, right? And you have all these
Yeah, I
vendors
know
setting
that's
up
it.
you have setting up vendors setting up all these little booths, and the whole thing was you just bring all the black community in, and people were buying everything. And back then, they had the African medallions. We ain't even got into X Clan or any of that kind of stuff. But anything that hip hop showed on TV, it was shown on TV at that point in time. In my community, that's what everyone was moving around and wearing, and the lingo. Hey, I remember when stuff like you're illin or that's deaf or that's dope. Like I said in the monologue,
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Fresh to
language.
death.
Yeah, all of
It's
that, right? So all
it's
that
a
was
it's a culture,
done.
brother. It's a
Yeah, I mean
culture, and we didn't know what the culture was when we was little because we didn't know how to recognize the culture that we were emulating. You know what I'm saying? But when we learned that we liked that shit, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's what it was: a
no,
culture,
no,
a
this is
lifestyle.
yeah, no, it's a dialogue. We all exactly. So my point
Hmm.
is that I didn't even think about it before we even decided to sit down and have this segment. But I now, looking back in retrospect, can really recognize how hip hop became infused in my community, like almost like overnight. You know what I'm saying? Because before that, no, before MTV Raps was broadcasting on TV, people in my community did not dress hip hop. We didn't know about the clothes. I remember when British Nikes first hit the scene, you,
Hey,
you know what I'm
and
saying?
Reeboks, man.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you
I do
something.
too. BK.
It's funny you say that, right? Because I remember, so after about third grade, I went to, back in the day, you had a test to figure like a placement where you was at in school, right? So I had told you, Jay, not always up until high school, I went to
Yeah.
different schools because I tested out. I was smarter than the local school, so I either went to private school somewhere else on scholarship, or I went to school, but I didn't go to the same school all my friends went to. So I would still be in like other neighborhood schools where they're listening to Metallica, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, which is why I think I have an appreciation for all sources of music to this day. But I still had my cassette tapes and my Walkman that let me know, like I said, I had my Run DMCs, my Fat Boys, my Kwame's, just everything that was hip
Oh,
hop based.
Kwame. Got
Yeah,
about him.
man. Yeah, right.
Man, the polka
I'm telling
dots.
you, man.
Man, come on.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit
Man, I
of time
forgot
before
about
we come back.
him.
You guys from Seattle, y'all remember
But
what's
you
his?
ain't said, but you forgot K Solo though.
I had KSOLO.
You remember K Solo?
KSOLO. I'm spellbound,
Oh,
baby.
okay then.
And
Spellbound.
but do y'all remember Kid
Man, come on.
Sensation?
That's what I'm talking about.
Do y'all remember Kid Sensation,
Yeah, I
man?
remember Kiss Sensation.
He had that C
Mhm.
Town
I
bars on.
do.
Listen, and the reason why
But
I remember that because
Mm-hmm.
88, 89 is when we started dancing. So remember, hip hop showed up around 83, 84. I was too young to really start dancing, but about 88, 89 is when I was old enough now to mimic the dances I saw on Yo MTV Raps, because we got Yo MTV Raps about 88. So once 88 showed, it
Oh yeah,
became
all day.
and if y'all remember, Yo MTV Raps came on twice. It came on like once at like 3 in the afternoon, but that was a repeat from the nightly one. But every night it
Yeah.
came on at like 9 o'clock at night. So that like shit was shut down. Like motherfuckers would come in the house, and we would all and like whoever had cable, we all pile in their house, and we would watch like the
Oh
10
man.
videos. And that's where, like I said, so like Ken Sensation, there was a group out of New York of some Puerto Rican cats called K7. Like that's when we really started
Wait a
dancing.
second. I don't remember him.
Hey, Google it when we're done. But like the dances is what
Damn.
I remember. We was becoming like trying to mimic the dance steps,
yeah,
like the
and
Mm-hmm.
stuff where the heavy D and the boy, where one dude go this way, the other dude go that way. Then if you got like a
Oh
yellow
man.
Reebok suit on, the other dude got a green Reebok suit on, and y'all look like a Sprite commercial.
I remember that. Yeah, oh yeah, the one where he had Now That I Found Love. That was that video when they was dancing in the rain.
But we
You remember
used to
that
do all
joint?
that. We used to do
now
all that.
Man,
that
come
I
on.
found
Yeah, I
love,
found
what
love.
you gonna
Yeah, whatever.
do
So to do with it.
with
Yep, that was the
it?
cut.
Yeah.
And then
Man, don't quit your day job, bro.
Hey.
because around 89 is when things kind of, I won't say got weird, but so prior to 89, hip hop was just hip hop or whatever it was, it was. But
Yeah.
89 is when you started getting into like, so like I remember like there was people who were like in the Rock Kim and Big Daddy Kane, and they were a lot more like lyrically assassins. Like Here I am,
Structure.
RAW, a terrorist. I like to eat
Yeah.
raw, right? But then you would have like the funner side where you could like start
Digital Underground.
yeah, but hey, I was telling Jay,
Mm.
the underground. I should have never been listening to Sex Package. Now I'm an adult and I
Oh
re-listen to
man, I
that.
just listened to that shit like 2 days ago.
Them Negroes was horrible, bro. I was 12 years old. I wasn't supposed to be listening to that. Listen, it was a lot more than
Man, but it was
it was a lot
cuts.
more than Humpty Dance. Like I bought it for Humpty and Do What You Like, but then when I actually listened to it, there's
Yeah,
what's that
oh
one
man, Sex
song?
Packet album dropped.
What do you say?
Kiss
Freaks
Me,
of the Industry. Freaks of the
you know,
Industry. I was like,
Yeah.
yo,
that was the joint on too.
you can say what I
Yeah.
thought he said.
Oh, freaks of the industry.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh. I'm
Hey,
like, did he say what
I'm
he?
not sure. I'm not sure if you to recognize what we done, but we actually just described the very, very first shift or metamorphosis to hip hop, right? Because hip hop and its obsession in session with the pillars of hip hop, breaking had really, really pushed the culture at first. Everyone was into the breaking, just listening to the 808 breaks and the music, right? And then MCing
Oh,
came
thank you.
into the picture, and it went from just wanting to look like LL Cool J or Run DMC to now starting to want to have different styles. Like all these people that we talked about, like they literally had their own style. In the 80s to early 90s, there were no two groups that mimicked each other. Like that was frowned upon at that point in time. So there was space for a Fat Boys and for a Kwame, or we can go a little further. We can say there was a space for like a special ed. I got it made. You know what I'm saying? Or a
Mm.
D nice.
Oh
You
man,
know,
yeah. That boy had a joint.
because
Oh, the
because as
nice.
hip hop,
Whoa.
yeah, as
Hey,
hip hop
hey,
started to
what
kind
D
of,
Nice say? And crumbs on the table. I'm the TR-808, huh? But just call me
yeah,
D Nice.
Man, come on, man.
yeah,
That's one of my
yeah,
favorite joints right there. That's one of
yeah.
my favorite
So
joints to mess with right there. TR 808.
Just call
yeah,
me D Nice.
Man,
so I
man,
remember
come on.
when I shifted because I had a Kango, right? I remember, well, it was a fake Kango, it wasn't a real Kango, but it
The
was a
Fango.
Kango style hat. It was a Kango style. I remember seeing EPMD on TV Raps and Paris and
Hmm.
what's
E
Eric
double.
Sermon. Yeah, E double
Eric
with the
Sturman,
fisherman
EPMD, man. The Green
with the
Eyed Bandit.
fisherman's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
hey,
the
the
with the
fisherman's
Yeah,
hat.
man.
yeah,
Come
with the
on.
fish.
And my uncle had
Come
a
on.
fisherman's hat because they used to go down the sewer park and down to the lake and fish. I remember going and
All day.
grabbing his fisherman's hat and wearing it to
The
school one day.
bucket,
You know, yeah,
the
Listen,
bucket
yeah.
hat. Yeah.
old school Seattle Seahawks colors, right?
Hmm.
The sea green colors, right? My
Yeah.
first
Oh,
fisherman
yeah.
hat was a Seattle Seahawks. I had a
The
fisherman's
bucket.
yeah, but it was a Seahawks hat, but it was the old
Yeah.
color Seahawks hat, like the teal green one that looked almost
With
like
the,
a dolphin
yeah,
tail.
the Steve Largent ones. The Steve
Yeah,
Largent color Seahawk
Mazda,
hat. Yeah,
the
I know
Mazda
exactly.
color. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
For
And
real.
then
That Dave
and then
Craig.
and I remember it was just waking up, not literally, but waking up one day, and then all of a sudden everybody was starting to cut the Gumby in their head or cut the steps in their hair. You know what I'm saying? The
Not me.
Kid and play had a huge influence on what we talk about,
They
which is
did.
party hip hop, right?
They
Because
yeah.
did.
because
Yeah.
because yeah, there for everyone that loved Rakim or everyone that loved Big Daddy Kane or you know some of what
Hmm.
they would call the real lyrical rappers of that time period, there was so much fun rap. I'm gonna throw a name out there you guys ain't mentioned yet. Hey, that's a spinoff from Kwame, who was what's the dude's
Dana
name?
Dane.
Dana Dane.
He said that
Nightmares
today earlier.
of the
Dana
night.
Dane.
Yeah,
No.
hey. So as
Yo,
kids,
that dude
it
wasn't
was
even British.
cool.
You know that, right? That kid, I saw that
Yeah,
kid.
Yeah,
He
man,
yeah.
said,
come on, man.
That was his gimmick. But I mean,
hey, yeah,
but
hey,
Slick Rick was British
yes, but
yeah,
when Dana Dane
or
did it,
wherever he was from, the UK. Yeah.
yeah.
I ain't know until I saw an interview a few years ago, and it was like Dana Dane. I was like, he's not British. What? I thought the
And we're
dude
also
was.
missing a pivotal. we also missing a pivotal point though in hip hop when hip hop and R&B meshed though too. And the joint just sounded so good blended together though. Look at the Fugees. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Now,
We're
that
we're
was a
getting
group
there.
right
Yeah,
there though
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
No, we're
sorry, I'm
getting
just trying to
there.
put the gas pedal on my bad when you know.
When we talk about the 90s, that's when there was, but I'm saying there was a little in that 10-year period of time of the 80s, it switched from just breakdancing and b-boying to now you got the dance sequences, you got people showing up in cross colors, you got people actually taking
That's
fashion
90s
risks.
right there.
You would see videos, you know what I'm saying, where they had big
Mm-hmm.
they had furs,
Hey,
and
I
it
got
wasn't even snowing outside. You know what I'm
no, I
saying?
got one for
But
you.
that's summertime.
Hey, I
Yeah.
got one for you. I'm gonna take y'all to '88, and this is why I remember. No, it was the summer of '80. No, it was the summer of '89, and I remember this on MTV Raps when dude said, "You killed them in Cleveland, word. You killed them in L.A., word. You
Word.
killed them in Chicago, New York, Dallas, word, word, word. What are you gonna do in Oakland? I'm gonna turn this mother out." And then when
Oh,
that beat dropped,
Gonna turn this mother out.
doop, 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 doop,
Come
doop.
on, come on.
Listen, man. He,
yeah.
I understand how I guess because hip hop, like the purists said that he, like he, unfortunately for MC Hammer, he got too
Mm.
famous too fast, and I don't think this was anything he asked for. But if you remember the first two MC Hammers before he was like, "You can't touch this," when he was turning this mother out,
Yeah,
man,
that's why
listen,
we pray. That was after, huh?
that was
That
like
was
his
after.
second or third one. But I'm just talking
Was that
about
his second or third?
when he
Hmm.
first dropped with Turn This Mother Out, and the album right after that with like right before You Can't Touch This blew up. When like we all knew about You Can't Touch This, but
Yeah,
people that listen to rap music would have never known about it. But before You Can't Touch This was selling cell phones or on Burger King commercials, when it was just like how
yeah, but
you
we
were
called
saying.
that boy. We called him a sellout though back then though
No,
too. When Hammer was one of the most gangster people you'd ever meet in your life.
hey, so on our side, we didn't know him to be a sellout. We only said that like after he started getting money, and unfortunately, that was like the mid '90s when it wasn't cool anymore. But I'm talking about in 1989 when you was in your
Hmm.
grandma's living room trying to mimic MC Hammer,
Yeah.
or what's the
So
other song?
so
Yeah,
so his first album was Let's Get It Started in
Yes,
'88.
he said,
let's get
and
it
then
started. That
because
was
you
it.
remember because especially when that dude say, "Let's get it started," that dude say, started." Started.
Man,
I'm a
it
hammer.
started. Yeah.
That's sixth grade dances right there, and you won't be rewarded. My beat is ever booming, and you know somebody start. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah. And then and then and
man.
then it, then the second album was Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him. You know what I'm
And
saying?
what's
When
the
he
one
became
song he?
Yep,
famous.
sure enough.
And what's the one song he had when he was like with the beat? He said the breakdown. What's it? Here's the news. Pump it up. Let's say one,
Pump it
two,
up. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Here we go. Oh 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 oh
Yeah.
oh oh.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, oh,
And,
oh. That was that joint though too. Yeah,
and,
I hope you guys know you're giving me sample ideas right now as we speak.
and
I just want to
listen,
throw that out there though.
and I'm gonna tell y'all this: when he brought 357 out, them was my first hip hop crush. Them was my like I still watch the
There was
yeah
some
yeah 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 video. Like I'll be like waving my hands in the club we love.
Go on with that, man. For real.
And BNGB
Man.
came out on that Juicy video, and now I look at this video, I'm like, ew, man, these little girls, they was like 15,
That was
16.
nasty.
The
Nasty to
13
being fast.
the 13-year-old me was like, pump it, pump it, pump it. I was like, yeah.
Hold on. How old are you again?
That's
Back then
wild.
I
For
was 13.
real.
Yeah, but now when I see that video, I'm like, ugh, man, get this nasty shit off of here, man.
Man, now they about 50, 60.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
For real.
BNGB still look good though. I know because I was following her online.
Hmm.
Man, but that
BNGB,
Roxanne no too though, yo. Like for real. When you said
Hmm.
Roxanne, oh man, come on. That was my joint though. Like for
and,
real.
and when Yo-Yo told you her booty softened and if you touch it, you living in a coffin, I was like, all right, respect.
You ain't playing with you
Right.
can't play with my yo-yo.
Right. So this is the perfect segue, right? So I understand for the hip hop purists, they're gonna go back to the DJ era that helped to cultivate hip hop in the 1970s as they transitioned from disco into this new. But let's stay with the MCing part because I think that's probably the part where most people in our generation probably tapped into it. All right, so we've already named a whole plethora of artists and different styles and the way that the fashion started to become infused and changed. Let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
how the I would like to start this one because I didn't really realize how much I had been impacted by it, and even to this day, I'm not proud of it, but I'm not at all ashamed of how I had pretty much doubled and tripled down in the hip hop so much that I was influenced by what I saw and what the videos and what the editorials inside of rap magazine said. I didn't have a mother and a father that raised me, but I had the task of raising my younger cousins because my uncles was out of the picture, and I literally
Mm-hmm.
used different elements of hip hop to try to get a prism and an understanding of what the world was going on around me. But then I also had them listening to the music and I was following suit with the music, right? And so living on the West Coast at some point, and it probably was in that Fab Five Freddy video episode where he met with NWA and they were in the back of the long bed truck and they were riding around through
The
Compton
dude
and they
pulled
Oh
that
listened
thing
to
on him.
man,
The
yeah,
dude pulled
yeah,
the thing
man,
out.
come on,
yeah. Easy E pulled out the
the
Swiss cheese.
AK.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
didn't. And they didn't
Yeah,
even blur. And back then, they didn't even blur that
yeah,
out. It was just like,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
so what we just did with this first segment is it didn't matter if you were in Southwest Philly, didn't matter if you were Compton, didn't matter if you were in Texas, didn't matter if you were in Seattle, Washington, the Bay Area, kids like us saw the exact same thing and were impressioned by were influenced by the same thing, and there was no concept of a coast at that point. But then we get this first major shift when NWA. I don't want to take away and disrespect the South with Luke and Two Live Crew, but I think it's
Just about to
appropriate to
say,
start.
yeah,
I think it's appropriate to look at how the reality of what happened to hip hop was there was literally a East and a West Coast that was creating at the same time, but through forces, whether they're unknown or whether there's some key people that
mm-hmm.
made the decision. I remember once NWA came out and a rapper named King T came to the forefront,
I remember
and
King T.
Ice
Mm-hmm.
T, the Ice T was already in there, but Ice T was more on some pimp shit at the point in time. So
No, I recognize.
if you wasn't into that Ice T, you like when I was a kid, we weren't listening to Ice T albums per se. My uncles were, right?
yeah,
But when NWA
Mm-hmm.
and when King T and Above the Law on the West Coast came out, all of a sudden we stopped wearing the clothes that we saw on MTV Raps and immediately started buying Dickie suits, started buying Carhartt
Yeah,
jackets, started wearing beanies, right? Places in the South End, one of the iconic places,
yeah,
Chubby and
Chubby and
Tubby,
Tubby.
yeah, Chubby and Tubby made a killing as in the
Oh,
West Coast.
Dickie.
This whole uniform was created, right? Started wearing G Nikes, Nike Cortez for the rest of the world, but we
Yeah,
called them G Nikes. So what happened
with the
is
Ben
that
Davis. Yeah,
Ben Davis, all of a sudden, when it used to be cool to come through a polka dots on and come through with suspenders with overalls with one of them undone and one up on your shoulder and all that stuff,
mm-hmm.
like overnight in my community, now we had a set of G apparel. All of a sudden, you had Dickie suits on. All of a sudden, you had big Carhartts or you had big triple fat goose down jackets, and everyone was looking like NWA. Like I remember when kids when kids were able to actually get starter coats, there became a whole
Oh man.
there was a whole little counterculture movement where dudes would come and jack you for
yeah.
they would go to different
Oh
schools
yeah,
and jack
yeah.
fools for their starter jackets and then
That's
walk
Garfield
around
and Franklin.
yeah, just walk around like nothing, right? And all that came from this thing that now they started calling gangster rap, right? Everybody all of a sudden decided, no, we don't need to have the little tail because we didn't even talk about some of the crazy things that hip hop brought. The flat top and the little rat tail, all that stuff was cut
Yeah,
off.
Or the
And then now
shag.
we
yeah,
and now we start
yeah. The
putting
shag. Yeah,
all of a sudden that's replaced on the West Coast. We started to get the little plaits
cornrows.
The plaits and the
Yeah,
cornrows, so your hair will grow out. Once your hair grew out this much, Jerry curl. That that
yeah,
was that was the that was the assignment, bro. That was the
yeah.
assignment.
That was what you had to do.
If you look
I
at
never had
boys in
no
the
Jerry curl.
if you look at boys in the hood will show you the maturation of it, because in boys in the hood you had Ice Cube that had the full fledged Jerry curl, but you had his counterparts. You had people in his crew that had what we call the little plaits when they start when you actually want your hair to start
Oh, the
growing
little
out.
lurks when they
Yeah,
start
yeah.
twisting it. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's all the
or the
starter
Dookie
kit.
braids.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
Dookie
yeah.
braids. Yeah,
So
yeah. That was a starter pack.
I remember that at some point when they came out, there was no more conversation about Biz Markie and you got what I need. You can say it's just a friend. All of a sudden, for us, hip hop was not about fun and having fun and dancing and stuff like that anymore. Like we came up in that, we gravitated to that, and that was
Hmm.
wonderful. But at some point, all of a sudden, gangsters don't dance, we boogie. Like all of a sudden,
You
it
know,
wasn't cool.
that, see,
It wasn't cool to be doing the kid and play dances, steps anymore. Dudes will look at you and they first thing like, oh man, you look like a mark. You know what I'm saying? All of a
man,
sudden,
you gay, nigga.
yeah, yeah, hip
For
hop
real,
on the
excuse my
West
life.
Coast, hip hop on the West Coast went really, really dark, and these guys paved the way. But there was a little pocket before it went mainstream. First, it was just N.W.A. Right, and it was
But
just Ice T.
The West
Yeah,
Coast created their own culture, though, brother.
yeah.
That's what
But
it
when we,
was. They were trying to separate from the
yeah,
East, what the East was doing,
yeah,
and the West
yeah,
was creating their own culture.
Can I back
yeah,
I've
up real
seen
quick
both
though?
cultures.
Can I back up
Hmm.
though before gangster rap took over, right?
mm-hmm.
When the West before the West Coast got defined by that, there was still like I'm gonna call I don't know the kind of music, but I before you got on the line, I was playing this song. You remember this old school song, "Play at Your Own Risk"? Play at your own risk. Now you
You're
see a
gonna have
lot
to
of
email it to me.
yeah, but now you see a lot more like Hispanics in LA definitely keep this era of LA gangster or not gangster rap, LA rap. Like it would be like LA Dream Team, World Class Wrecking Crew,
Group,
uh
yeah. Don't
just
forget about Second and None.
second what's that group? What's the song like Kendrick Lamar just did a remix of that one song, but when I hear music,
Oh,
it
Debbie
makes
Deb,
me
Debbie
yeah.
Deb.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I would say somewhere between 86 and 90, the West Coast had
Mhm.
that sound too, because we all knew on the East Coast, like that music. I don't know what you would call it. It definitely is. It definitely should sit in the house of hip hop. If hip hop is a house with multi rooms, there should be a room that has that genre of music. I don't know
That
if you would call
section,
I
yeah.
don't know if you would call it electronic or funk or but it's that music and
Mm.
so the West
EDM
Coast
ish.
so the West Coast still had its sound, right? It still
Hmm.
had a lot of that because it was heavy bass. I think Miami went harder with it and took the bass riff, but
Ooh, that
before
Miami bass.
like the
I'm
95
sorry, that Miami bass.
that Two
Yeah.
Live Crew 95 South, JT Money, Poison Clan, they took it and ran with it, but before that it was still like I said, the Debbie Deb, the when I hear music.
Hmm.
And if you ever
I got a sample that tonight.
And if you ever go down to an LA like lowrider competition, them OG essays will be out there with some old school thump and some old school like 1984, like
Oh, but the essays can break dance though like a motherfucker though, and
and
pop lock like I don't like crazy.
and the Samoans too. Samoans, they booyaka
Yeah,
will show up.
yeah. The Usos, man, they had it soul. You know what I'm saying? For real.
I,
I,
I
Especially
was
they can
just
sing now.
I was just saying that before it got super like where it was only the West Coast was defined by gangster rap. I
yeah,
just wanted to give shot that there was like a subgenre between 85 and 90 where West Coast sound was also still heavy like bass riffs, but like I don't know, techno electronic
yeah,
synthesizer, but it was still I would say like if in the house of hip hop, you would be fucked up if you didn't give them that room. If you didn't have a room set
yeah.
aside for LA Dream Team and World Class Wrecking Crew and the people that did the
Mhm.
Play at Your Own Risk. Play at Your Own Risk. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
And yeah, no, that's a very, very important distinction to be made because yeah, I mean, I think NWA's era and all that gets a lot of either fanfare or a lot of blame for the transformation. Um, but at the same point in time, as this stuff was coming about, there really wasn't any rules, there weren't any parameters, and the goal was to kind of push the boundaries, right? And so at the end of the day, as we're going back in this time machine and we're actually thinking about what we're exposed to, it's just kind of cool to see how it had its origins. But this is a perfect kind of segue into how, some people might say that this is too much of a shift or too much of a overcompensation. But um, now that we've kind of talked a little bit about how we remember hip hop and its origins around us, let's kind of talk about the evolution a little bit, right?
Can I
So,
highlight something with that?
mhm.
My bad. I think
No,
what was instrumental in the transition was when the money got involved. Because remember in like 82 to 90, hip hop was just something that blacks and Puerto Ricans did, right? So it was just relegated to like that subgenre of a subgenre of a subgenre, right? It was never mainstream. It was never supposed to be for people. Like along the racial lines, white kids in the suburbs weren't supposed to know about it. And it wasn't for them. And not saying that's what it was designed, but I think when the money got involved is when you started to see, okay, like how can we make some money? How can we exploit it? And this takes nothing from MWA, but sometimes I wonder now, looking at being closer to 50, did NWA realize that they were being, I don't know, I don't want to say pimped, but did they understand? Like, so Ice Cube obviously realized he was getting fucked over when it came to the money, but he only saw it from the money standpoint. But did Ice Cube O'Shea of 86, 87 recognize really like, yo, these folks came in here and hijacked it, and this is what they're taking it to?
right. That's an excellent point because I mean, what you're talking about is the commercialization of hip hop, right? So let's break this down into like three different little distinct pockets, and then let's just kind of like talk about it, right? So we've been talking about the roots of hip hop through our lens, right? Because for any one of our memories or renditions of what it was like 83 through 93, someone that's viewing this could probably have a little different lens. Something may have been going on that was an addition or something that was a little bit different, but it all still comes from the same tree. The same tree was that Yo MTV Raps allowed for hip hop to be broadcast all around the country, right? And so you start to be able to see visually what radio could not do just sonically. Radio has a lot of influence because of things that are played, but at the same point in time, um, by the time we get into the visuals, now each region has its own look. You're able to display what's going on. And what NWA first attempted to do was to say, hey, this is how art can imitate life. That was the first thing that they wanted to make clear that I think is a huge misconception, right? Is that they are saying we're talking about things that are happening and have been happening in our community. And we're not saying it necessarily to glorify it, but now that you've actually given us an opportunity to advocate for ourselves, we don't want to talk about the sing, dance routine, what I'm saying, pass the mic, go through the Soul Train line, because in the communities we're in, we're literally being hunted by the police and we're being adversely impacted by what crack cocaine has done to the inner cities, right? So I know that over the years, Ice Cube in particular has fielded this conversation plenty of times. And to the best of my recollection, what I remember him saying, and it's not verbatim, it's just something that he said, is that what they were aware of right there in that moment is that they only had one opportunity to give a different perspective from the Dougie Fresh, the shining lights, the shiny, flashy aspects, the sing song, the fun aspects to hip hop, and they thought about the message, right? That that 15, 20 years previously had showed you what it looked like when there's broken glass everywhere. Junkies running around the place like they just don't care, right? And so he realized that, hey, this is our opportunity of a lifetime to get the rest of the world to see that this is exactly what's going on in our community, right? It just so happens, unfortunately, that anything that you put out in front of young people is going to be very, very influential. And there's going to be individuals that gravitate to that. So for every song that they made to talk about the ills of the street, there was someone in a place that did not have those issues that all of a sudden wanted to have those issues. They just wanted to be in Compton, California, getting chased by the police when they saw 100 miles and running. You know what I'm saying? And they see all this stuff visually, not understanding that the video doesn't show what really happened when the cops catch you. You know what I'm saying? The video is showing, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we were able to get away, from all this stuff. The video didn't show you really what, blowjob Betty looked like or what the strawberry looked like. Like they didn't have Netflix now that you can just, or a Tubi now that can just show you the grit. So even though they was talking about some negative things, there's still some cinematography going on in there, right? That had people rooting for the bad guy, right? It didn't show, they didn't go into it saying, hey, we're gonna turn a nation into gang banging kids in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? They didn't initially want to birth a movie called CB4. What they felt like was we only had
Oh,
one opportunity to show America that what's going on in the West Coast of the United States is a little different than New York. And at that point in time, New York was the focal point. So there really wasn't even a thought about Philly or VA or Florida. That wasn't on our minds, right? So everyone gravitated in that. So here's a question I have for you two now that I laid this out. Right. So at what point do you think that hip hop started to deviate from its original roots? And how did this happen?
oh, you on one note with that Prometheus. Real talk.
All right, so I think what we said, I think somewhere around, I'm just gonna give it somewhere between 88 and 92, when money got involved, then it almost became like before that, hip hop was one big tribe, one big happy family. We didn't know any better. Within this tribe, it was mainly urban. So it was primarily black, Puerto Rican on the East Coast, black, Hispanic, Mexican on the West Coast, Chicano on the West Coast, and in that would be like some pockets of Asians and Samoans. But it was generally seen by mainstream America as lower class, right? When the money got
Mm-hmm.
involved, people realized they could make some money. Then hip hop began to be promoted. Tribalism, like tribalism, came into it. So then this is now around the beginning of East Coast. I remember it was probably 1991. I know you guys gonna get mad, so I don't want to start no beef. But
Now go ahead.
This cat named Tim Dog made a song called "Fuck Compton." Right? I don't know if y'all remember that. Now, prior to that, I didn't know what the like I said, I have in my mom's house somewhere. I still probably got her basement an Ice Cube America's Most Wanted tape. I have an MC8. What's the group 8 used to be with? Compton Most Wanted.
Uh,
Compton's Most Wanted.
yeah,
I got the tape, something to drive by or something to ride to. What's it called? Right.
Music to drive by.
Right. I have
thank you
Del
for
Funky. I got Del the Funky Homo Sapien. I have West Coast before I knew. So I never knew at 13 years old why this dude said fuck Compton. I wasn't aware of that. But I think when the money got involved, then it became easier to make it tribal. Then you could promote certain one thing over another. Again, like I said,
yeah.
I got the DOC tape. It's funky enough. I still listen to that. That beat,
Ooh.
that's one of those beats you hear today. You still know, like you know that beat
But
wherever you at.
DLC was different.
So dig this:
DLC was different, dog.
When DOC first had his accident, he came out with an album in like '95, but he wound up redoing the funky enough beat. That beat is so iconic. You just know
Mm-hmm.
that beat. So what I was saying is, I think to bring it back, I think when when rap became tribal, when the money got involved. Because then around that time, like I said, if NWA could etch out and say, "Hey, we're talking about reality rap." I don't think they ever said "fuck New York" because they was getting money in New York. But then the cats in Chicago, before Twister was called Twister, he was Tongue Twister. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, tongue
Chicago,
twister.
Common Sense and Tongue Twister has something to say about Chicago, right? This is still a little bit
Yeah.
pre-Outcast, so there would have been some underground stuff like the Ghetto Boys. We would have known who the Ghetto Boys was. We would have known
Oh.
we would have known who UGK was, but it was still regional, and by that meaning that the money made it tribal. Then people started getting paid to promote their side, and in an effort to promote their side, even if nobody said it directly, then it was like fuck the other side, right?
Yeah.
I think because
No, real
West
talk.
Coast, I think because the West Coast already had a strong gang culture, it was a lot easier for them, West Coast artists, to like kind of promote that externally because it's easier them like the Long Beach kids, meaning Snoop 213 and his friends, Dubs, what do you call it?
Mhm.
Dub Shack, I Ride with Her. All those dudes, they could roll in their clique,
Mhm.
and then they could beef with like because again on the East Coast, I didn't know a such thing as Treetop Blood. I knew that because DJ Quick said that, right? I knew
Mhm.
MC8 was a Crip because 8 said he was a Crip, but in terms of how that manifested, why they can't make music together in the early 90s, I didn't know. So I think when the money got involved, it was easier for the West Coast rappers to kind of stay because they already lived in a reality that promoted that, right? The
Yes.
reason why
So
like
what you're saying is more from a business aspect. Now it's a music business instead of a
right,
cultural thing, right?
right,
So once
right.
that business side comes into it, though, now if we look at the CEOs and things like that in the company, they're like, oh, okay, we can exploit these guys and make a shit ton of money and give them kibbles and bits.
Because most of these
Like
kids
that's what happened.
most of these kids coming up were what 17 to 25, which to us at 11, 12 they were
Mhm.
adults, but us being closer to 50 we know they're still kids, right? So when
Yeah,
the
they're
money
getting the
gets
next demographic.
they're getting so these are poor kids who are getting a check making more money than anybody in their family has ever made to play an image or play a or even if it's not an image they're playing, hey, do more of
Hmm.
that thing and less of this thing. Like
Yes.
I remember saying something like, so it's funny because on the East Coast, our Puerto Ricans, Dominicans say nigga. You know why? Because we all live the same. It's only now because we recognize the world is different. We're like, nobody should say that word. But growing up, you would hear the Beatnuts, Fat Joe, and them drop the N word, and nobody, like, if Fat Joe was like, yeah, I was at a party and the niggas was over there, we'd be like, who was over there? We wouldn't even be like, yo, why you say that? Whereas because while the West Coast was promoting a certain, not the West Coast, but why the business was taking it one place on that side, we were still living in a place where we were all fucked up. And I think, as you were saying, once the money got involved, it started creating tribes within hip hop. And then you had to support your tribe first, right?
Yeah, no, I mean that makes total sense, right? And so for those that subscribe to hip hop conspiracy theories 101, right? They say that the origins of hip hop, the messaging was about in any way, shape, or form the upliftment and the celebration of what was going on in the black community, black and brown communities, right? And the music was coalescing together. And you make a good point that I want to make a distinction about because there have been black and brown people that have lived in communities anywhere in America where there's rich and there's poor, right? There's always redlining, there's always ways to push and to overcrowd black and brown communities in certain pockets throughout wherever city that they're living in, right? And so on the East Coast, just based on proximity, based on Ellis Island, based on the way the immigration has always went, right? There's been a Caribbean influence that was pushed into the whole eastern seaboard, and you all came up together and lived in that same pocket in the exact same way that A on the West Coast, immigrants came in through San Diego down the border from New Mexico, Arizona, and California. And so you had Hispanics that were along the West Coast, where we have that meeting of the minds as it relates to who can say the N word is that on the West Coast, there was still sectionalism between black and brown people. So the Hispanics and the blacks could share the same plight with poverty, but not with culture. Two totally distinctive cultures. Where on the East Coast, it sounds to me like everyone was able to participate in the same cultural aspects of hip hop because everyone was right there in the same proximity. That's where you get people on the West Coast that would ask questions like, well, why do you guys let Puerto Ricans or Dominicans or any other people like that say the N word? Whereas in the West Coast, we didn't allow the Hispanics because even though we still were pretty much pushed and relegated into the most terriblest of conditions, there was still that separation. We knew black and we knew brown, and we know the intersection was in the space of economics, but not in culture. The Hispanics have always have maintained their own culture that black people did not participate in. So for us on the hip hop side, right, it was cool when Kid Frost was able to break through,
Ja
but Kid
Stuvo.
but Kid Frost never got a pass to say the N word in the black hip hop genre on the West Coast because unfortunately the West Coast has always been brown and black peoples have been divided by prison politics.
Let me
And
ask you a
so
question on that. You
mhm,
said that, right?
mhm.
But what about In Too Deep and Cypress Hill?
So again, with both of those different groups who are really iconic groups that have they hold a space on the West
Like
Coast,
if B Real
they
said,
still
if B
see.
Real was like the niggas is over there, we'd be like, word.
No, see, so here's the thing. Be Real never got a pass to be black. And in the small when they first came out, it was a lot of question marks because Sin Dog is Hispanic, but he looks black, right?
Well,
And
he is
so
black
people,
though, but
I
he's
mean, well,
Cuban.
what I'm saying
Words
is that
matter.
what I'm
Mellow
saying
Man
his
Ace and Sin
what,
Dog are
what I'm
black.
saying what I'm saying is his cultural identity is not African American. So
Okay.
but the hue of his skin for all intents and purposes is black. But what I'm saying is that when he came out, we were a little bit confused. Like, why it's like he looked like a black dude trying to act Mexican, right? Because there's a lot of miseducation in all communities, and in the black community, we didn't make the distinctions between people that was from Mexico or from Central America. If you're speaking Spanish, we just thought you was Mexican. We thought you was Vatos, right? And so the same way that people get kind of clumped up into a cultural box in the East Coast and they didn't know that there's all these little islands in the Caribbean that have their own names and they're their own kind of people. You know what I'm saying? We on the West Coast objected to Puerto Ricans or Dominicans or any of the other people saying the N word because it's like, no, on our coast, there's a distinction between black and brown. The only way we intersect is on social economics. They have their own culture and they don't want us to participate in that because colorism has hit their culture the same. Dark skinned Mexicans and Hispanics or Latinos would be treated differently than the fairer skinned ones. I don't know if that's the same thing with the Puerto Rican side of it. So black people was like, nah, we already see you don't like black at all. So we're not gonna let you say the N word in our presidents and think it's cool because there used to be a division. The black gangs and the essays or the Mexican gangs did not intermix. They didn't beef with each other. It was literally like having two totally different worlds on the same coast. You guys were a lot more unified in, it's a East Coast. You're from New York, you're from one of the boroughs. That was your distinction. The boroughs were the distinctions: Bronx, Manhattan, et cetera, et cetera, Brooklyn. But on the West Coast, it was you're either black or you're brown. And so when Kid Frost came, I'm telling you, we was actually looking, just waiting to see how he was going to play this. Before we even knew about the word cultural appropriation, we're trying to figure out, are you going to try to mimic us or are you just speaking for your people? And once it became clear to us, he gets a lot of flack these days for the things that he supposedly crossed other Latin rappers and stole their lyrics and blackballed them when he was on his come up. but we accepted Kid Frost because he seemed like he was representing the Rasta. He was representing the Browns, and that was in no way going to impact or influence what we had going on. Because, like I said, you could be in one community, and on one side of the community you had the Mexicans, and they operated. That's the essays. We ain't got nothing to do with them. The politics say we don't mix. They don't have nothing to say in what we do, and the same thing happened with rap. So when the guys came in that were Hispanic
And that's
as
so
rappers,
funny because we fucked with Lighter Shade of Brown, we fucked with Kid Frost, we fucked with DJ Laz, In Too Deep. Like on the East Coast, they was just. I think it was only because Kid Frost had a little bit more like La Raza and Yastuvo. He was a little bit more Chicano led,
yeah, yeah,
but like Lighter Shade
and
of
we were,
Brown,
yeah.
I still got my
Oh,
homies, my homeboy. Hey DJ,
hey,
let's play that song. Keep me dancing. LSOB, man. It was
mm-hmm.
chilling on a Sunday afternoon. In Too Deep, sipping purple chongos, sitting honky, straight going donkey, right?
Yeah. But see, one thing that allowed them to kind of like leapfrog over any kind of black West Coast criticism is that by that time, hip hop had become so poppy that they weren't trying to be streets. In Too Deep wasn't trying to be streets. Lighter Shaded Brown wasn't trying to be streets. So it's just like in the neighborhood where you got a guy that plays a sport. The gangbangers and the drug dealers will leave them alone because they see they're not even in the same game. And in many cases, they would protect them, like, nah, let's just keep them away from this because they got a shot at doing something else. So when we had our what we would call gimmicky rap groups that came out of the West Coast, they didn't get a lot of scrutiny from West Coast hardcore artists, except for when we start talking about the conversation, are you being too poppy or are you keeping it real as it relates to West Coast culture, right? So
And
on both
that's
sides, I think it's interesting. Go
and I
ahead.
think it's interesting how you said about like so if you remember Sen Dog's older brother's Mellow Man Ace.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and he had a song like he had the one major song that's straight mentirosa. Today you tell me something, y mañana otra cosa. Ain't got no money, baby.
Yeah.
But being on the East Coast, because you got Dominicans, Cubans, you got
Hmm.
whoever a month.
Yeah.
Like if you look at half the Los Angeles Dodgers are darker than me and you, and they
Yeah.
be like, I know Black Poppy, you know the same, right? So
Yeah.
we never saw that as like we just thought because Sendog's Cuban, Be Real is half Cuban,
Hmm.
Mellow Man Ace Cuban. If they dropped the N word, like again, if like Mellow Man Ace was like, yeah, so I was at a party and them niggas was tripping, we're like, what niggas? Who him? It wouldn't have even set wrong with us. Like, yo, dog, what are you doing? It's only as I got older, traveled, realizing like how you said, a lot of the West Coast politics are predicated on the prison system.
Yeah.
So again, like not being from New York, maybe we should get a New Yorker on this next time. I would agree with you that a lot of New York politics was what borough you was from, and certain boroughs like Manhattan and Bronx roll tight. Queens and Brooklyn hate each other unless they dealing with somebody from Harlem or the Bronx type deal. Um,
Right.
in Philly, we kind of stay in our own world. Like culturally, I guess like when the East Coast West Coast thing really took off, we awkwardly sat in the same house with New York, right?
Right.
Just by proximity, I guess, because you if you weren't from the East Coast, you would think we were the same. I guess I could say maybe we dress the same. I don't know. Maybe we talk the same. I don't know. I can tell the difference, but somebody not could be like hearing somebody from Trinidad and Jamaica, like, oh, what Jamaican island you from, right?
Right.
But we still, like I said, we didn't like. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to like the West Coast until about '96. But then I live in Southwest Philly, so when West Side Connection said, "If you from the west side of your town, make them bow down," we was like, "Hey, bow down, motherfucker. We from West Philly."
Yeah. Yeah, and so man, that's a interesting place to hover over, right? Because then again,
And,
here's
matter of fact, let me
another.
say this real quick. And we
Hmm.
thought it was highly funny when Snoop came and smashed the buildings. everybody in Philly got a cousin from New York. So when Snoop smashed the buildings up, we thought we like he let that man come in your town and kick your buildings over. Like we was like, shut up. You don't say nothing to me. I come up there and smash them down too. Like I think a lot of people would be surprised now. This is not how it is today. Obviously, I'm damn near 50 years old, but growing up, culturally, Philly, we ain't fuck with New York. Like because my roommate in the military was from New York, I think there was a misconception. But you got to remember, we were both on the West Coast at a time when East Coast West Coast beef was popping. So by proximity, we're going to probably culturally align more, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
as a rule, growing up, I ain't fuck with nobody from New York. Like what? We had an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so, man, and so this is the part where I said, that there's a part of my hip hop upbringing that I'm not proud of, but I'm also not ashamed of it, right? Growing up, by the time the East Coast West Coast division started, I was squarely in high school at that point in time, right? Very, very impressionable, very, very passionate about the West Coast having their own say in music. And if you think about again going to the iconic group West Side Connection, right, where they before they start Full Life, where it's like I'm Ice Cube and I'm so hip hop. I'm Mac 10, you know what I'm saying? They were
Wait a
making
minute, wait a
they were
minute. That
making
ain't how the West Coast beat.
yeah,
Drop
and
it.
then you hear that
Yeah.
now. So listen,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
when there was a division in East Coast versus West Coast, it's a very very interesting dynamic in Chifa and I's dynamic, right? Because we in high school, sophomore through senior year, right? We had a homeboy that came from New York, moved over to the West Coast,
Man, tell
and
the
so
truth, nigga.
the what? What am I leaving out?
Man, man, say that boy's name, boy. You already know.
I
Go
don't
on and
know if
say
he
his
wants.
name, man.
I don't know. I don't know if he wants to be outed by name because what I'm saying is this, right? So he became like you just point out because he grew up majority of his life in New York. He became the New York representative on the East Coast, right?
I
So
hated that,
so we
man.
so we put together this rap group called Code Deuce 45, right? And he was to be the East Coast aspect in our group, all things East Coast, right? And so when we would get on the bus and we head into school or get to school, he had the disc man, he had Wu Tang, he had Nas, he had AZ, all the whole New York starter kit, right? When the East Coast West Coast thing popped off, and they told me in the Source magazine that I'm not supposed to fuck with East Coast rap. Guess what I did? I did not fuck with East Coast rap. I'll tell you this right now. I promise you, I didn't. I didn't actually listen to Illmatic, the album, until in my mid
Oh,
30s because I did not.
you missed out.
Nas was quintessential East Coast, right?
You missed out.
So
so
you
many, so
say,
many, so many, so many albums.
let
And
me
it's
ask
and
you a
it's like
question.
Yeah.
it's yeah. Go ahead.
So did you listen to Tupacalypse 91?
I listen to
Of course he
everything
did.
West Coast, everything West
But do you
Coast.
consider
Even to the
Tupacalypse?
same.
What I didn't know at that point in time, I didn't know that Tupac had
No,
been
don't compare
born,
there.
no, I didn't know New York. I mean, I didn't know Tupac had been born in New York and then had spent time in Jersey and all the other places that he
So,
was at.
so that's what I mean. So
He
do
went to
you
Juilliard and everything.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, so we can get in that another conversation. But do you recognize that
Mm.
Tupac's catalog pre-Death Row has a different sound than his Death Row catalog, right? So do you recognize? And this is one of those funny questions I used to ask people like who were like staunch West Coasters when I came in the military, and I came in the military in '96. The world was still very much East Coast, West Coast, and West Coast.
Yeah.
Y'all love y'all some pop. How do you feel about his album Tupacalypse 91?
No,
And
no,
how do
no,
you feel about his album
Love it.
50 for my niggas?
no. So here's the thing.
Oh,
Here's the
love
thing.
all the Tupac.
Here's the thing.
And do you consider Digital Underground East or West Coast, even though Shock
That's
G
where
is
he's.
So
I mean, I consider man Digital Underground, Digital Underground. You know what I'm saying? Pac was a backup dancer with them. You know what I'm saying? And they put him on now with same song for the movie soundtrack. What was it? Nothing But Trouble, and that was
yeah.
Tupac's first debut. You know what I mean? For real. And
So
then he
here's
was in there. Man, the boy had bars.
yeah. And so here's answering your question. See, there's only a splash in the pan of a live Tupac versus dead Tupac as far as his music is concerned. There's been so much music released post mortem that, to your point, when Tupacalypse Now first came out, it came out at
Oh,
a
that's
time
okay.
before it came out before the East Coast West Coast thing. So
Hmm.
I wasn't at all clocking Tupac as the East Coast or West Coast artist. I distinctly remember when Strictly for My Ends came out, his sound started to change because that was when he moved to the Bay Area. Right, that's when he moved there
Yeah,
full time and
Oakland.
started getting game from Richie Rich. So yes,
Mhm.
he it still had a
So I
little
love
bit.
Ooh,
Rich.
It had a
ooh.
little bit.
Props to
It had a
Rich right there on that
yeah,
one.
it had a little
For
bit
real,
of
hats off.
the militants to it, but he was already starting to peel back layers of West Coast ism, right, in his rhymes. So if you
Yeah.
notice, there wasn't anything that was comparable to Brenda's Got a Baby on Tupacalypse Now.
Oh, man.
What you hear is on the Strictly for
That
My
was the
End
album,
song.
though.
It's a shame you can't take this. Wait. How did how does
Name of the song.
the
Holla if
beginning?
you
No,
hear me. Yeah,
no. I'm
yeah.
talking about the actual theme
Yep.
track song for Strictly for My
I
Ends.
agree with what
It
you
says,
said.
I- um, hold on, I'm gonna do it right now, or I'm gonna be tripping out. But listen to the lyrics
Hmm.
of Tupac's entry to on the song Strictly for My Ends, real quick, because it's totally different than the Tupacalypse Now. Tupac. Strictly for
So
my
while you pull that up, Chief, doesn't Jeezy swag remind you of Richie Rich?
Yeah, man, all day right there.
When I
Jeezy got a great flow though. We got to
when I
give props to where flow is due though. He smoothed
okay.
through some shit.
when I
Jeezy
first
got
saw
a great flow.
Jeezy in the early 2000s, I was like, "Is this
Hmm.
Richie Rich?" Because everything about him was like a Richie Rich. It was just the minus the yeah, but it's just
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but Jeezy
yeah,
ain't rolling up to your
yeah,
granny's house on a motherfucking Harley Davidson. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
nah.
Like that
Hey,
guy's been at
double
Granny's.
R.
That guy's been at Granny's studio when I
Yeah,
stayed in the South End. Like
yeah,
seriously though, town
yeah.
business.
Double
That was this
R.
guy right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Man, come
Hey,
on, man. Through
so so
DMX.
listen to this real quick, just to prove a point that Strictly for My Ends started to have a different feel. He started leaving that revolutionary. So one of my favorite songs off there says, "I was framed, so don't make the same mistake. You got to learn how to shake these snakes because the police love to break, send them up straight because they straight up hate. So what I do is find a crew with zoo, straight fools with the rules, the Jew. And one time not enough for me.
Oh,
I'm still lost, so the laws can't. You want to send me to the
yeah.
pen. Picture that. I stay strapped, mother. Better get your gat. It ain't easy. Sometimes I can't take it. The
Yeah.
life of a celebrity is
Is you
everything.
doing the edited version?
So no, I just because I don't have the same latitude that you have, bro. The position that I carry, I still have to be mindful of what I put out in the airwaves, right?
And I understand that because the kids
Yeah,
listen up. But you think the kids
yeah,
ain't gonna
yeah.
say the same thing you say in a
No,
couple of
no,
years,
no,
man?
no,
Come
no,
on.
no, no.
That's what I'm saying.
They say it all the time. But the thing is that based on my position, I have to have a certain
Your
level of
stature. I get you.
level
Your
of discretion. You
characteristic.
know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what I'm saying
I
is
still
that
see that
that
video.
I'm
I see you still rapping the video. That's the one where he's in the jail
yeah,
cell like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so
just
so
grind. Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
already
yeah,
know.
yeah. So my point to answer your question is that before everyone had a chance. By the time everyone had a chance to gravitate and accept Pac as being West Coast, we weren't privy to the fact that he had grew up on the East Coast. Like that wasn't written in the bio. There really wasn't a bunch of hate Pac
You
campaigns
could
until he
you could
came to
hear
the
it
West
though.
Coast. Yeah,
You can hear it. Listen to the difference between Tupacalypse Now to All
yeah,
Eyes on Me. That's
yeah.
all you have
Oh,
to do,
woo.
and you can see the change in
Yeah,
Pac's
So
vernacular. You can
absolutely.
so
actually
have
see the change.
so having sat on the East Coast when all that went down, Pac was again one of those where
More metaphysical, more deep.
he was still our son. We just
Yeah.
realized he got pissed off because whatever happened when he went to jail. But he never like even like because it was funny because he used to run with the Outlaws and all them dudes is from Jersey. And I
Yeah.
remember,
Come on.
but they was in there sending shots to the East Coast, and they was. I remember I saw an interview, and what's the one that got killed in the Outlaws, the light skin one, whatever one he was, right? He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, son, we gonna see you, son. We mad." Whatever he was like, he was like,
Oh, you talking
but he was just
Yeah,
Fatal?
we
spitting.
mad, we mad tripping with you, yo. You know what I'm saying, man? We
Yeah,
just man, we pull up toe. You know what I'm saying? Come
and
on.
that's when I
Come
had
on, I
asked the
get it.
question, and I was like, "Where the Outlaws from?" They said, "They from." I said,
They
because
got that twang, they twang. Yeah.
it's before he came out with the "We from NEW Jersey," pretty. But it was so I just heard him giving the interview. And I was like,
Yeah.
these dudes is from the East Coast, and so I said that to say like Pac was one of them people like he was still our son. We realized he was pissed off
Yeah.
at some other people. So when he was mad at New York, and again, I'm not from New York, so Philadelphia was like, "Fuck New York. We don't like them either." Now we did like Mobb Deep, we did like,
No, I'm not either.
but we wasn't New Yorkers. So when Snoop came through and crushed the buildings, we was like, "Smash them for us too, big homie. If you out here kicking buildings, kick them." Like I remember we had a cousin as a homeboy that used to go to high school with us, and he was from New York. And when that video came out, that doo 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 doo, we was like, "Yo, why y'all let that dude come in and kick the buildings?" He said,
Oh, the E40 came out with that joint though too.
he was like,
Yeah, that
"Dude up,"
do do
because again,
the DMX came out with that
we
joint.
still listen
Yeah.
because even in the early '90s on the East Coast and Philly, we listened to Inner Major Way. We listened to 40. We thought that was some of the illest shit.
Man, love 40.
We couldn't understand his flow per se. Like it was only after being around Javon I could understand the
Thanks,
language.
front one.
But we thought it. Well, we still thought it was. We thought that it was just. We. I don't know. It was some shit we had never heard, and we was like, yeah, I do know somebody out here saving these hoes.
Man, come on. The captains, come on. Hector, the whole protectors, man, come on. 40, man. 40 turned his image and what he did into just something bigger than him. For real.
But even 40 had to overcome that obstacle of not getting initial East Coast approval, because I'll take you back to when he participated in the feud. I'm not saying that he started, but Rasheed Wallace, if y'all remember, Rasheed Wallace, who
Oh,
was a former NBA basketball
I,
player, right?
I ain't know he
That
40
that
fan.
that, so
He's from
he
Philly. G. Wallace from
yeah,
Philly.
yeah, he's from Philly,
Yeah.
and what happened is he was a little bit annoyed and pissed off because he had got traded to the Portland Trailblazers, right? When he gets to the
Oh,
Portland
I remember that.
Trailblazers, they start. I think he was in a Murder Dog interview and a couple other West Coast magazine interviews, and they got him to talking,
Yeah.
and he expressed exactly how he felt. He was like, "Hey, I'm from the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? I don't. All I'll do is listen to East Coast music." He was like, "I don't listen to," and he started giving a little short list of names of West Coast rappers that he doesn't listen to, right? And so what
Man,
ended up
don't do that
happening
on the
is
West Coast, my guy.
he threw 40's name in there, and the editorial, the person who runs the magazine was messy by today's standards. Went ahead and had leaked the interview because it was on in print. It
But
wasn't audio.
but
Had
drama
leaked it.
but drama sells though.
Yeah. And so E40
Yeah.
hears that. So then E40 makes an actual song. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Called called
Yes.
called called
Yeah.
record called record hating bitches,
Record
right?
haters. There you
Hey,
have it.
hey,
Man, that was
and
the cut off.
and this is
Ain't
when
gonna lie.
this is one of the first times, bro. I'm not saying it
He
hadn't
called his
happened since,
name out.
but he went as a rapper, went at an entertainer in a different genre of entertainment. He took a rap beef to a basketball player. Now you know Rasheed Wallace don't have the rap
Oh,
acumen. He don't have the
he
resources to act. He
can't.
wasn't no rapper, but
He can't do it.
he was defending the East Coast. I listen to real lyrics, real spitters, DJ Premier. If it ain't a DJ Premier beat, son, it's not a beat, right? And so on
But
the
you ain't
West
listen to
Coast,
Nas till you was
yeah,
30.
Yeah, on the West Coast,
Yeah,
hey, anybody that was a 40 fan, hey, his stock went up. We was like, hey, 40's a fool. Like, hey, like 40 made a
bruh.
song. Hey,
I gotta
he
go
made
check
a
that song
song.
out. I've never
Hey,
heard that
hey,
song.
I'm about
You
to
never
send
heard
you.
of when he said Rasheed Wallace?
Hey,
Oh man,
he
talk
said,
so much that said his name in it, right? Like
he
you
said
wouldn't
his
say that boy name
name.
in it, right?
Hey, he said his name
I'll
in.
send you the Jerry Chipman disc in a minute though, man. I'll send you the
So
Jerry Chipman in a minute.
yeah, so where I'm going in a long roundabout away is that rap like you said, it became regional, became sectional, and it became very cliquish, but because the magazines and the gatekeepers, the ones that were able to create the visuals and to persuade these rappers to again choose sides, choose a west side over a east coast kind of thing, that influenced me to the point where it followed me into adulthood. After I had left the inner city streets and I was actually in the military, where I should have been trying to
Hmm.
cultivate and change into a different mindset and grow and recognize. I remember several instances where I drew very, very stark lines. In boot camp, I didn't fool with any of the dudes that was from the East Coast in my compartment at all. Like, didn't even want to
Why?
even know them dudes.
Why though?
Didn't- Because in my
Why?
mind, because I didn't have uncles or a father or anybody that was actually schooling me or putting fat on my head as a kid. What I had was these rap tapes that turned
Hmm.
into rap CDs. And in the rap tapes that turned into rap CDs, I'm listening to West Coast artists that are giving me perspectives and telling me what I should hold as importance and relevant in my life and what I should strive to be. And and etched into all of that was this fuck the East Coast kind of thing, because they think because they created hip hop that they're the lords over it. They're the bigger brothers. They get to tell us what we need to sound like, what we need to do, how we need to be. And then when they criticize these rappers that we idolize, that's like a slap in the face to people in the streets. So when you start hearing diss songs, when these rappers from
Hmm.
the East Coast are going at West Coast rappers, someone like me that's young
Yes,
and
sir.
impressionable, I took that personal
It's
because
like
I
You know
idealize
what?
these
But
dudes.
it had nothing to do with you because you didn't understand the business
Yeah.
aspect that drama pushes up record sales.
Right,
Anything with
right.
some drama will get that money up there, man. And that's the
Yeah.
point of drama.
I
Yeah,
don't think
never, but
I'm
no
gonna
one's
tell you.
ever privy to that though. That's
But
just something that you learn when you become old enough to know. But as a young man, you're not privy to that.
I'm gonna show you how that took hold on the East Coast, right? Like I said, so culturally, 94, 95, we kind of just figured like we went we went where New York went because New York artists got more spins on our local radio.
all
In
day.
Phil- but in Philadelphia, we occupied a place where like if the music was great, you got spins. So like I said, I had E40 tapes, I had UGK tapes, I had Too Short tapes, I had all these
Oh,
things,
that Pimp C. Yes.
right?
Yes.
But I remember distinctively when Biggie died, right?
I
I
do
remember
too.
I remember sitting in 12th grade the next like that Monday or Tuesday. Couple dummies was talking in class like because I guess Snoop canceled his tour because he was supposed to come on tour in Philly. And he was like, "Yeah, one come out here, he got to die." Now, mind you, we're all kids. Even if you had the means to send a message to an artist, no 15 through 19-year-old got that kind of connect, right? But
Yeah, not then. Yeah.
it's just the fact that like that East Coast West Coast was so entrenched in some people in Philly that first you gotta remember Biggie was from New York. I liked Biggie, but
Yeah.
he's in New York. Like again, anybody from Philly that's my age group, we didn't really fuck with New York either. As a like I remember my current wife and my ex wife being from the West Coast when they met me. I guess I was the culmination of whatever Mary J. Blige met the man fantasy that they had being like 15-year-old, 16-year-old girls watching the All I Need video, right? So I remember they would talk to me about shit in New York, and I'd be like, I ain't from fucking New York. Fuck that city. Like I had to like stand. I had to almost get like Snoop Dogg to let them know how I felt about New York. Now, anybody hear this? I love it. I love New York. I love the five boroughs. I have a blast when I'm in Queens. I have a blast when I'm in the Bronx. But
It's all about
17,
respect, though, dog. It's all
but
about respect, though, when it comes to like shit like that. You know what I
but
mean?
17 to
Real
20,
talk.
but 17-year-old me through 22-year-old me was very much like, I ain't New York either. Snoop's crushed y'all buildings, not mine. Corrupt is from Philly,
I
all
mean,
right?
Yeah.
like, come on, hold on, but check this out. You had the Prince of Bel Air, dog. You got to throw him in there then, because
I mean,
you had the Prince. You had that Fresh Prince, dog. You from Philly,
so
yo.
I'm gonna rewind this back to like '88. There's one song. So I would put Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. I wouldn't put them in novelty rap because unfortunately a lot of their songs that went mainstream were novelty, like Parents Just Don't Understand,
Yeah,
Nightmares,
it was
Nightmare on Elm
on my
Street,
street,
Nightmare on
Nightmare on
My
My
Street.
Street.
Uh,
Yeah.
he's a DJ, but Fresh Prince got one song called "The Brand New Funk." I remember where I was at the first
Mm.
time Brand New Funk dropped. That should have solidified him in terms of the ability to have bars if necessary.
But
You know,
Will's a good rapper, dog. Like
you know what
Will
I
was a
mean?
good rapper back
But
then, though. For that era, he was good, dog.
yeah, he
You
was.
know what I mean?
But I'm just saying in the time space. But but
Hmm.
sometimes
But
it's
then,
like
a year later, he's on TV with Quincy Jones. So you have to understand how the business side of hip hop works. Though it was a business. We're gonna use you and make as much money we can out of you. We're gonna give you $2 million, or we're gonna make $60 million off of you.
and
You
I
know what I'm
think that's
saying? So
but I
controversy.
but I think that's what contributed to the tribalism that we see in hip hop that I think it doesn't permeate as
Hmm.
much. But I think up until about 2005, when the South really started coming up on their own, it still kind of set undertone. Because then after a while,
I'll tell you.
the South did such a great job in
I have a
'05 that
boyfriend up there.
everything started sounding
I
like
hear you.
the South. You had cats in New York rapping on Southern cadence, which it to
Now
me,
you gotta blame P for that shit. You gotta blame Master P. That nigga dropped 30 albums in like what 8 months.
hey, get your money,
Everybody.
get your money, Mr. Miller. But what I was saying is that I think that what was odd to me now at like 2005 era was that there's just certain flows and certain cadences that better natural. Like, for example, you don't want to hear a dude with a New York accent rapping like he's from Compton. It just don't.
I heard Tupac do it.
There are people who can pull it off. Like I said,
Exactly.
Shock G is from Brooklyn, but
Oh,
when he gets to rapping with Yuck Mouth and the Loonies, he sound like he's from the town too. But as a rule, everybody can't pull that. Why you shake your head?
Damn.
because they can't pull it though.
No, I'm
Because they
talking
cannot
about
pull it though. Oh, Jay over there shaking. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Did he get the cut though? Yeah, play that
Yeah.
cut by yourself though. Did you
the
find
town.
it? Did you find the check cut?
Ain't that
Yeah,
how
I
they
said
do it?
that for you though, front.
Ain't that how they
Right.
do it in town? They.
He make it
You know
for
what
the
I'm saying? I
town
know that's
business,
town
man.
business dog.
Yeah, he make it
Well,
for the
man, this
town
town
business, man.
business.
I'm
Listen,
not. I just see.
from the bro, from the moment that he and I met, man, and he found out I was the West Coast representative, bro, man. Hey,
Oh, let me tell you. So off subject. When he first showed up in the military, when he tells you that he was probably loyal to a fault, like he was ready to like if Pac said we got to form an army to go ride on these dudes, he was leading that charge. He showed up like other than the fact because we was in a service, he couldn't have a like if he could have had a curl and the Los Angeles Kings Scully and the curl hanging out, he would have had that.
Nah, nah,
He would have showed up.
that's my guy with the fade and the waves right there. Because he was so proud of his waves, and he used to have a brush. He used to brush his hair like 560,000 times a day. Yeah, man, I got to
He
keep
did
the
that.
waves up, man.
He did that too, but he was so loyal to the West Coast, so loyal. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely,
waves and
like,
absolutely.
nuts.
like he would say like, there's this cat that I follow. He would like he's the one that put me on the term like a friendly fade. But he would say like, you ain't never heard
Hmm.
no friendly fade. But the way he said it, it would have the West Coast
Yeah,
accent. Like I say friendly fade. He'd be like, we out
yeah, head
soy.
up with him.
He'd be like, we're going out soy to get a fade. And I was like, what? Like I was like, how
I
is
know
a
what you're
fade?
talking about, then.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. For
1990,
sure.
1999 him was very much we going outside, we riding on them. Like he was
Yeah.
if
Now,
Tupac
what these brothers, what they doing over there, man?
No,
What
see,
they doing over there?
but there's a
did the
you
whistle
know,
too, like
see, and that's like a little microcosm of what we're talking about, right? Because everywhere that I went in my military career, it was mostly guys from the South or from the East Coast in the units, right? And I was one of the few West Coast grown, born and raised, grown, homegrown dudes, right? So by that time, music had blended enough to where you would listen to some music. So guys listen to Todd Shaw. You know what I'm saying? Guys listen to DJ Quick.
Yeah. Sure.
Guys listen to West Coast music and was like, okay, they're cool. But in my mind, it still was like trying to get that monkey off our back or trying to get that the big brother off of the big brother's approval off our back.
The
So
stigma.
so
Yeah,
the
the
thing went
stigmata. Yeah.
here's the cold part. So I come back to the West Coast
Mm-hmm.
and I enter into a battalion that still has people from everywhere else except from the West Coast, right? And so I get there and I'm like, oh man. So when they
Boyd was
have the
from
little
LA.
functions, huh?
Boyd was from
Yeah,
LA.
no, shots out to Shad, but Shad also was trying to find his identity in the battalion. Like you guys, not saying you, but the core members of the battalion still used to sun Shad at that point in time. He wasn't a guy that people would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go fuck with Shad. He'd be like, hey, where y'all going? I want to go too. So when I got there, I peeped the scene, right? So I'm looking and I'm like, okay, we have these, people playing music in the barracks. I want to mingle and figure out who's who, but I go in there and I'm not hearing West Coast music. Now, the dude that I did connect with was Boat, because when Boat's not even from the West Coast, but when Boat hopped out the lack, that dude was playing Mac Mall. You know what I'm saying? So Chief and no, hey, Mac Mall is hey
Oh man, come
that's
on,
our
man. That ball. Oh man, come on,
that's our shit, right? So
man.
I thought that Boat
Man,
was from the West Coast.
my opinion.
Bro, hey, when he first pulled up in his lack, he had a brown lack. When he first pulled up in his lack, all I heard
Man,
was
come on.
get right, fools. You need to choose. And so I was like, oh, this cat might be from the coast. So I go up to him. I'm, politicking with him. He's like, hey, man, yeah, we finna be shooting some dice a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? Hey, come to my room. So I go back. I hop on the horn. I'm talking to whoever I'm talking to. And it was an event. I'm like, oh, man, I done found a cat from the West Coast. Man, we get up there and they playing East Coast music up in there, shooting dice. Polo in there, Boone in there, all them dudes in there. And I'm like, so immediately I'm already like, oh, man, what? I don't want to shoot no dice in
You,
this environment, man. I like, man, y'all ain't got no but the law in here, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't got no LBC up in here. Hey, can we at least turn some gin and juice on? So what I realized was, even though I had got back to the West Coast, the dudes that actually was moving around in the barracks, they're still playing East Coast and down South music. So I'm like, nah, I'm drawing the line in the
mm-hmm.
sand. They're gonna know that I'm West Coasting. So he's right. Everywhere I went, so it wasn't like I wasn't from the coast and was pretending. I was like, I'm not gonna conform to none of the stuff they're doing. These dudes wearing leather jackets and Timberlands and lumberback jack shirts. I'm out of here.
Oh,
I'm I'm,
you
I'm not
should have,
I'm
should
not
get
sta-
that
I'm
true.
not I'm not standing next to you dudes, man. Hey, not at all. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Yeah,
and when I
man, don't
and
mess with
when I'm
DMX with the Timmy's on, bro. Don't
Hey,
do that.
when I throw on music, when I throw on music, it's 40 water. I'm hopping out. I'm hopping out my homie's car, walking in the barracks, like, what up, my Sahab? And they're like, Sahab, what is that?
Well, it looks like you
And I'm
driving
like,
Saab.
Yeah,
It's
the
like, no, you got
I'm
a
like,
boat.
Playboy,
and I
say
and I, and I,
Playboy
and I
partner.
and I'm like, play
Yeah,
partner,
my
sprinkle
Playboy
me.
partner.
I'm like,
No,
sprinkle
he
me,
said
man.
something like,
You
Come
know what I'm
what's
on.
saying?
up, my? I remember he's like, what's up, my Saab? I was like, what you got, Saab outside? You didn't drive a
Yeah, I
Honda.
was
If you had
like,
a Honda,
What set you crying, right? What set you
yeah,
crying, huh?
you know what I'm
he
saying?
was
I mean, that's just
he
how
was
we represent, though.
he was
Yeah,
all of that, man.
That's
I
just
remember
how.
yeah,
we were
man.
shooting dice
So
one night,
so
right?
you went to the military. So you went to the military forefront one, huh?
Full front
That's how you
one.
did it though.
Man,
With the
I did,
same
bro.
lingo, you went forefront.
I didn't change
hey,
until about
listen,
24, bro. Until about
listen,
24 years
man.
old.
If
Yeah,
like I told you,
That's
so
ill, yo.
he showed up like, and then like, so in like early 2000, everybody was like crip, well, not everybody, a lot of cats was crip walking because like it became cool, right? This dude would be in the club ready to serve people a rumble or
yeah,
fade, because even though he's not gang affiliated, he would just be like,
I didn't like how they took the
he
coast. Yeah,
You
I don't
affiliate
like
like a
how
motherfucker.
I don't like how they commercialized that. Nah, I
he
remember
took that
whenever
he took
yeah
that shit
one
like
of hey
Serious.
you
He's
thought
like,
you
hold
thought
on, homie. We go for the head to the shoulders then, right?
you'd have
hey
thought he was on somebody's set for real the way he'd be ready to call somebody out.
but
He just loyal
listen,
to the soil, though.
no,
He
loyal to the
loyal to the
soil,
soil,
loyal
man.
to the soil. Hey,
Like
but
that. I love that, though.
on top of that though, I tried to on top of that, I tried to save these dudes from what happened. Cause listen,
Not not
there's
save
two dudes.
these,
No, I'm just
not
saying, no, I'm
these.
telling no, I'm about to clarify. There was two dudes that were in our circle that really took a liking and a hold to the crip walking when it became fashionable, right? There's just one cat from down south, right? Singer, dancer type dude, and he could dance,
Yeah.
right?
Most
So
down south.
so he took to this other cat that he and I both know in common from Chicago,
I'm
right? Still,
going
so yeah, he was a dancer as
Mhm.
well. So we in the club, and I see these dudes out there. Like as soon as the song came on, they're like, wait. Like they trying to shoo people away so they can just get enough space so they could just show off their dance. And I'm looking at it, and I'm
You
like,
should have
man,
broke out
first
with
of
some
all,
cardboard on the niggas
no,
then, nigga.
hey, no. So I
Bring it with
looked at
that
him, and
cardboard then.
so I
Nah,
looked at him, and
they would skipping. They would
yeah.
skip hopping. They would skip.
So
Oh,
so so the
they
thing
was sliding. All
Hey, so
right,
the
then.
thing I did was I let him get the whole dance off though, and I was like, okay, cool. But once the music changed, I immediately bailed over there. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna tell you guys like this, bro. Like I know you guys think this is a dance, but I'm telling you,
Don't do that shit.
somebody snatched your
Have
cat
your hand,
off of
nigga.
this. So
Have
I
your
said,
hand, boy. Don't do that.
So I started grilling them. I was like, bro, do you even know what you're supposed to be doing? And they're like,
But
no, it's a dance. I said, no, you're supposed to be spelling out your set with your
Man, you
feet,
supposed
bro.
to be filling
You
out
know what
your
I'm saying?
set all day, sliding through and shit.
Yeah.
but dig
For
this.
real.
That wasn't the point of it all. He was ready to like just in case. Again, remember, I'm not gonna say he don't know nobody who's on those sets. I'm not gonna say he didn't grow up with people on set, but he to my knowledge, he's never if anything, he's just live in the same area, but he's not on a set. But that night
Yeah.
he was ready to be from a set. He was ready to be from somebody's set
Oh, he
just
about to get jumped in, huh? Man, come on, man. Yeah, you too
I gotta stop you there.
for that
I gotta
shit.
clarify. I gotta clarify
he
what
just
what
wanted to
I
have a fade with somebody so he
no
could say so he could let them know this ain't a game over here.
no. Let me clarify this. The reason why I was mad for two reasons. One, you're buying into the commercialization and stuff that dudes like get blasted over. One, but then two, you're in the whole military doing something you ain't got no business doing. But it came back full circle though, because when that day when Boat got laid out, it was actually over that. What happened is, and I don't know if you remember this because you wasn't there that day. You was out on a mission. But listen,
Hey, yeah.
Shad Boyd brought three of his cousins from Fresno because Shad got connections in Fresno. And so Shad brought three of his homeboys to Duke's from Fresno, and they saw the other two individuals we talking about and a couple other people out there doing that, and instantly had problems with them because because them dudes was bloods. And so they saw that. So that whole night that occurred, where both ended up having to go to the hospital because he got curved and all that. And Mike handled his own, but all that came from them seeing them dudes doing that. And I knew them dudes didn't even know that that's really what could happen to you out here. Yeah, we in Oxnard, California, but you're still 30 minutes away from LA, or you're still, you know what I'm saying, somebody having their folks from around somewhere come on up just to kind of like kick their feet and see you doing that. And I knew they was gonna beef. So I was mad because one, they were studio gangsters. Like they wasn't gangsters. Hey, Poe could throw hands, but Poe was not a gangster. And we know Seti Boy definitely wasn't a gangster. So seeing them dudes out there spinning around and smiling with it, you'll never see nobody walking smiling, bro. They was out there.
I'm just saying. I
Bruh,
remember.
I was mad as shit about that, bro.
Hey
I was.
man, hey
I
man,
tried
like
to
I
save
said,
them dudes. I tried to
dude,
save them
all
dudes,
you
bro.
needed that night was some Chucks, some fucking stacked over Dickies,
Mm-hmm.
fucking. You remember in the Gangsta Lean video when the dude had them fucking workman gloves, the leather lineman gloves,
Yeah.
and a
Oh,
little.
it's Carhartt gloves is what they are.
Oh my God, you was Captain West Coast, King West Coast. This. the
Man,
mostest.
bro, that's I'm just saying, bro. I just knew that these dudes had no clue what it was that they were getting themselves into, and they were sheltered by it being on the military base, and they thought that it was just sweet, bro. Yeah, that made me mad, bro. I didn't like that at
So,
all.
and pushing forward, what's the next? Because we going on like, what's the next
Yeah,
like
yeah. So let's round it out this way, right? So let's bring it to a good point. We what we've done thus far, right, is we've kind of hovered over the origins, right? Our own personal entry into hip hop, who influenced us, what the community around us looked like, how did it change? We started talking more extensively about how the evolution of hip hop turned into like what I guess you would call rap music now, because you have this sectionalism, you have these different genres of hip hop. Everyone in their region wants their region to be recognized and on equal footing with the East Coast industry, right? And then we kind of, went down memory lane talking about how hip hop has influenced us. I think a good thing to touch bases on, as we talked about the roots and has the message and changed, is how has hip hop impacted the communities up to this point? Because now hip hop turned 50, right? So
Mhm.
hip hop has been around long enough to where we can now start looking at markers and seeing how has it impacted black and brown people, right? So here's the question. We know that gangster rap happened. We know that there was a shift from a conscious message that was predominantly taking place. We know that this whole feel good dance, sing, song, party type music came and went. And what we have now is something different. So here's the question I have for both of you as we think about hip hop in its current state. Will we say that over the last 50 years, hip hop has done more to empower the inner city black community or to exploit the inner city black community?
Um, Before I answer that, let me no, never mind. I'll save that for when we close out. I'm gonna say I think sadly it is done more to exploit, and I'm speaking this as somebody who grew up with hip hop, who saw the metamorphosis from rap to hip hop to all the different genres of rap, and I can recognize the intent behind everything in it. But I think somewhere in it between, I'm going to say somewhere between probably 98 and 2010, and real money got brought into it. Not a couple dollars where somebody changed a couple things. I'm talking where people now change their whole life and industries. And now you see, I remember when you started seeing hip hop music when there was a Burger King ad that had the bling bling soundtrack. And while I was happy for Manny Fresh to get his money, I remember thinking to myself, like, damn, this was never supposed to be about selling burgers and Whoppers. And I think what now has happened in it, like what Chief has said earlier, we're the least paid in all of this. We created this art form, we brought this art form, we put it up, we pimped it up, and and we're the least paid on it. And because we're the least paid on it, we're the ones still left trying to find our way in it. It's not even ours anymore. I would even argue say it's not even ours. That's why you still see people, rappers like hip hop being 50. You see 55-year-old rappers still trying to compete in genres with 20-year-olds. Now, there's one thing to go to a hip hop oldies night and you see a bunch of old rappers rocking the mic like it was 88, having a good time, but you actually see rappers who are older than us, got gray in their beard, carrying on like they're 18 because we didn't get the memo that eventually you got to grow up.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into that. What do you mean by grow up? Because I've heard people make this argument before. So what do you mean by grow up?
I'm gonna make this in the most generalist terms. If you are 55 years old and you're a grandparent or you got kids that are in their 20s, why are you still flooding the block? Or why are you even aligning yourself to flooding the block with that work? Like, you should have aged out.
So you mean the messaging
The
is
messaging and
immature.
the branding and the imaging of it. Like, and I know some people say, well, what about Keith Richards or what about like the Rolling Stones or Dave Matthews Band? For every one artist, rock and roll artist that's 70 years old still rocking the mic, there's not a whole genre of 70-year-old white guys that want to be that guy. But you and I still have 50, we still interact with, there's 55-year-old people our age who still living the hip hop lifestyle of a 19-year.
So I hear you on that, and here's my counter to that because I'm a opponent to that ideology, right? And here's why. If we say that a man should age out of being and thinking in terms of juvenile types of activities, I think that transcends any music or anything that you do. I think there's a way to be a mature man but still understand what is very very special about hip hop. What's very very special about hip hop is that it's meant to absolutely cycle, recycle and evolve and
Okay,
continue to grow. So you take this conversation like this. Let me
hold
just
on
give
real
you an
quick.
example.
All right, go.
I was just going to give you a little quick example. So let's just take expressions of words, right? The feeling can be the same even if the actual slang terms change. So the term today that someone wants to say for something that's very good, very happy, you're pleased with it, or it was very fun is it was lit, right? The way I think of hip hop is that hip hop is baked in like this. Someone first said something was ill, then they said something was deaf, then they said something was dope,
Oh,
and then they said something was bitching, and then they said something was lit. It's still the same feeling, it's still the same expression, it's still the same sentiment. What hip hop does is there's a built-in refresh button that keeps it young as far as having to reinvigorate the culture with something that can only come from young people. That's the difference between all of the other subcultural genres that people subscribe to. If you see somebody that grows up in a rodeo culture, it's not inappropriate or juvenile to wear the same rodeo style apparel that you wore at 18 years old with if you wear the bolo tie and the big hat and the buckle and the boots and all
so
that. You can make the distinction and say they're a 55-year-old man based on the way they carry themselves like a
that
man, but they still participate in the same exact subcultural norms,
so
right? So
so
hip
here's
hop is like that.
here's why I'm gonna differ a little bit with you on that one. I think that is a very macro answer you gave, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna talk about the micro.
Okay.
I think that no, not I think I've seen. Okay, so I give you an example. Three Stacks, one of the dopest lyricists out there. LL, one of the dopest lyricists out there. Method Man, one of the could be argued dopest lyricists out there. They actually said in interviews why they don't tour anymore because they said they have children that are like our children's age. And one day, where they all had this epiphany moment where they realized I'm too old to be making rocking the crowd for them. So like Method Man might do some sort of tour where it's like the Wu-Tang 30th anniversary or some sort of group where it's our age in the audience, right? Because that's an old school throwback moment. But going on tour with a bunch of 17-year-olds, having to live in that world that pays you to promote to that age, there's somewhere where you age out. Now, I don't know about the man who rides horses and wears Wranglers and dips skull. I don't know what his community says the metrics are for when you age out. So I'm speaking for somebody inner city, black and brown. Some of that stunted behavior, whatever I'll guess to say, there's a generation of men who are 50 years old still aspiring to be 21-year-old senior citizens. Have you heard that term, senior citizen?
Yeah, yes, I heard that. And
And
again, when I hear that and what I hear you saying speaks to the actual maturity level, but and now I don't want to say but, I'm saying that it gets jumbled up together into this argument where if you stay connected to your subcultural roots as you grow and mature, somehow that's a stain on your jacket and maturity. Whereas what I'm saying is in every other subcultural norms and practices that people have from different cultures, they don't see it that way. You're right. Guys from Motley Crue, guys from Pantera, guys from Rolling Stones, guys from Grateful Dead, whoever these individuals that are still alive, rolling around in their 60s and 70s, right? They still say that the music A keeps them young and keeps them relevant, but
I
then
get,
B, I don't see where in their community
but
there are mainstream critics that say, hey, you know what? I don't want to see a Led Zeppelin concert no more because these dudes should have aged
so,
out of rock and roll. They're
so
just
I don't,
vintage.
I don't know about that part, but I can say what bothers me because again, I connect to the hip hop culture, so that's black and brown men, my age group.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a plethora of white guys in my age group who still want to run around and be Dr. Feelgood and Metallica and they drink all night and raise hell and live and snort cocaine and chase blondes on the beach on motorcycles. I don't know that world because I don't come from that world. But
Mm-hmm.
when I say my community seems to have been stunted by the commercialization of hip hop. Somewhere in there, not all of us, not most of us, but enough of us still haven't grown the fuck up. Like I said, we got on here for the last hour, 2 hours, and had a great time going down nostalgic lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at no point in this, now I might go somewhere and hear a song somewhere, oh shit, and have to show my kids I still got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not promoting an image in the world of me at 21 years old. I joke with you about how we dress, right? Like
Right.
you will not see me in my kids' clothes because I have aged out of some of that silly shit. And I don't mean silly because it's silly. It's silly because I'm 50 years old. Like now, if my 23-year-old son want to dress like whatever these kids is wearing, like I can't even fix my face that boys should be wearing Uggs. That's supposedly Uggs are unisexed. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying no size 13 Uggs. That ain't my ministry. Now, if my
Right.
23-year-old son want to wear some Uggs and that's appropriate dress behavior for him, great. But when I see not maybe if there's a rapper on a podcast and he's an entertainer, he's getting his money. I don't have a problem with that. But when I see the connections that it has, and I'm on the subway in DC and I see men my age group, and I can tell they're my age group because they got fucking gray in their beard and they're balding and they just look like somebody's dad, and you're competing in a genre that you should have aged out of. I'll make it a little more simple. Remember when we were young, E3s, E4s in the military, we go to the club, and every now and again you see an E6 or an E7 in there. It was kind of cool a little bit, but when you start seeing that E6, E7 like hanging out with, like, take your old ass home. I
Yeah,
don't,
no, I understand your framework and I can understand why you
and,
feel most comfortable having this conversation from a micro level because then it's
and I,
able. Go ahead.
and as I say, so I don't think hip hop itself is the problem. But once money got involved and it became a business and an entity, and once we lost control of it, we began to get pimped by the very thing we created, and it's designed to keep us in a certain station in all of this. That's why your backpack rappers only get marginal love, right? When I say your backpack rappers, these are your lyricists, right? Why J. Cole got pretty much eviscerated in reviews because he decided he didn't want to participate in rap beef because he said he's old enough to remember what rap beef can really turn to, right? Which that's a grown man move. That's a thorough. Now you could say he didn't want no smoke, whatever. But as a grown up, that is a grown man move to recognize, like, no, I realize I might be banging on wax, but there's people who listen to me that will take what I say and then ride with that. I don't want that on my soul. I'm not. I didn't get into this game for that. right? Like that's what I mean. We lost control of our art, and because we lost control, it's somebody else to tell us what to do with it.
No,
That's
I'm clear. Listen, I still firmly stand on the other side of the argument, but I absolutely understand what has led you to come to that conclusion. And as I was saying before, when I cut you off, I apologize for that.
nah, you good,
Is
fam.
that I understand how the framework looks different when you go micro, 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 micro. But sometimes when you're in the trees, you can't see the whole forest to see, and you can't see how much or how pervasive a forest can be. Think of it this way. You saw on TV in a documentary of some sort that's probably National Geographic or something that came on that dealt with the Amazon rainforest and the Amazon basin. Like when you see the camera pan through and you see all the the ecosystem that's there, that's one thing. It's just they got millions of different things that all exist at the same time in that. But it's something about when they get in that helicopter or they have that little pan view that now can come from having a drone that can now zoom up 200, 300 feet up, and you can see just how vast some of these rainforest basins are. The reason why I don't allow myself to really get fixated on something that I can agree with you upon, there's certain elements, there's certain mentalities within hip hop that can keep you in a premature or in a non-mature mind state frame of mind. But what I'm saying is, as a culture, the hip hop culture is what leads and pushes pop culture. And
Oh, well,
sometimes I feel like we
Sure.
get tricked. Hold on. Sometimes I feel like we get tricked into thinking that we have to vacate something that they cling to. They monetize and they sell Burger King burgers off of this because they understand how powerful of an influence it is. So my thing is to age out and to no longer participate in any way, shape, and form with something that everyone else sees as a global phenomenon is a form of deculturalization. Now, I agree. There's certain things you should put to bed. You shouldn't be still rapping about selling drugs or about pimping hoes when you're our age. But what
let
hip
me
hop has
Hold
presented
on,
to the
hold on, time out.
world,
No,
which
hold on. Don't you say nothing bad about pimping hoes. There's nothing wrong with pimping.
I know
It's older
we
than
know
all this stuff, man.
we know
Don't
you
do
got
that.
you got a whole you got a whole album called Bitches Know Me. I get it. But what I'm saying is at the
No,
core of
that's the name of the group. I'm the only member.
what what I'm saying is at the
Thank you,
core of it
baby.
all, hold on, let me land with this idea. And what I'm saying is that there are certain aspects that definitely can be put up on the shelf as this is how we used to move back when we was 19, 20, 30 years old. But here's the thing that they have been trying to monetize and to capitalize on, and the thing that they understand is the most powerful aspect of hip hop is its tenacity and its rebelliousness. All of these, what we call fads, but all of these different styles that have
Mhm.
came out with the desire to actually say we don't want to be white. We don't want to be white American. We don't want to subscribe to and have to do what white people say we have to do as black people. So our rebelliousness is we're going to turn all of these different types of fabrics and jackets and different types of clothing that white manufacturers have decided
Mhm.
should be done for this, and we're going to just be in New York, I mean, not New York. We're going to be in South Florida wearing a big bubble jacket, or down in Atlanta or in Miami wearing a fur, or we're going to take stocking caps that used to be pantyhose for white women, right?
Yeah,
Or and we're going to turn it into something that can actually help to shape our own cultural identity, right? All these things that I see that I think older gentlemen such as ourselves and a little bit older seem to lose along the way is that every single person has some sort of culture or subcultural norms they
and I
subscribe to, and we think that
I
because
agree with that.
we get to be a certain age, now we have to be less black. if
let me
there's
ask you a
one
question.
thing if there's
Okay, let
one
me.
thing that if I got you if there's one thing that is the epitome of being black in America, is hip hop.
But let me ask you this question, and then I'm going to
Hmm.
feed on my time. So
Yeah.
maybe age out isn't the right word, but age up.
Okay.
Maybe it's time to age up a little bit.
And words matter. I fucks with that.
So,
That
so,
I can deal
so
with.
instead of aging out,
It's
but
maturity. It's
but
maturity.
like I had said real quick, and then I'm gonna leave you this quote by Brad Johnson, aka Scarface. He said something very poignant, but it isn't
That one good.
it isn't that rap was ours in the beginning, but like I told you, somewhere between 95 and 2004 with real money, not a little bit of money. Because like if you look at the older rappers from the late 80s, a lot of them had to go get real 9 to 5s because but
Yeah. McDonald's. Yeah.
once people started getting life-changing money that changed their kids' life, we no longer own that art form. And that's just the sad reality of it. It was ours. We still own elements of
Mm-hmm.
it, but we're being pimped by the very system crew we created. So I'm going to leave you with
That
this
part.
part.
I like
That
everything
part.
that you said. I just have to be a responsible moderator and
So
say
hold on.
he made a song. He made a skit about it. It's Brad Jordan, not
Brad
Brad Johnson.
Jordan. Brad Jordan, excuse me. Sorry, face. But he says now the whole entire world's got to try to come up with a quick decision. They claim we threats to society, and now they calling on the government to try and make somebody quiet
Quiet me,
for the bullshit they done to me. Gangsta Nip Spice One, Tupac never gave a gun to me.
gun to me.
So gangsta rap ain't done
Mm.
shit for that. I've even
I
seen
even
white folks
seen
from
white
River
folks from
Oaks
River Oaks go get
go
the
get the
gat.
get. So why are you trying to kick some dust up?
Wrong
America's always
one.
been known for blaming us niggas for they fuck ups.
Fuck us. We
And
were
they were always
always
considered evil.
Mm.
Now they trying to bust our only code of communicating with
communicating
our
with our
people.
people.
Let's
So
say that
peep the
again.
game.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Let's say that part. Now they trying to bust our only
Yeah,
code of
only code of
communicating
communicating with our
with our
people.
people. Let's peep the
So
game
peep
from
the
a
game
different.
from a different angle. Matt
Not
Dillon pulled a
pull this
pistol
pistol
anytime
anytime
and
someone tangled. So why you criticize me for the shit that you see on your TV that rates worse than PG? Just bring your ass to where they got me,
got
so
me.
you can feel
You
the
see
hand of
the
the dead
hand
Mm.
of the
body.
dead body.
But I'm
Facts.
but I'm gonna read that one
Man,
part one more
facts.
time where he said, "Now they trying to bust our only code of communicating with our people." That is my issue with hip hop today. It is no
Yeah.
longer ours. In an
It's
effort,
not.
for it to
I
grow and
agree.
mature, because it had to, somewhere
Do you,
the gatekeepers of it didn't realize what they had, and these were poor kids who wanted a better life. So when the money showed up, they was quick to like. I don't think African Bambaataa. Well, I don't even want to use his name for all the other bullshit, but just the
nah,
pioneers
rest. It
early.
didn't just pass. Rest in peace,
Yeah,
man.
recipes, but he has some shit out there that
Yeah.
I ain't cool
Yeah, I ain't
herc and
fuck with
all.
neither, but
So the Curtis Blows, the Fabulous, the Furious Threes, the
Fab
TJ
Five,
Sly, all of them. I don't think they realized when they were just some party kids in the Bronx creating a sound what they stood on.
and that's hip hop
And
because hip hop brought a community together.
oh, I'm done
It,
saying my piece. I wanted to say I think Brad Jordan said it best. This is our only code of communicating with our people, but we don't even own it no more. When you don't own it, someone else can give it back to you and tell you how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, facts. No, hey man, no, that's a
I'm
great
sorry, I'm gonna
summation.
interrupt you, pause.
No, that's a great summation, right? So listen, man, this has been a wonderful little, you know what I'm saying, rabbit hole adventure about something that, can bring different cultures together, but also organically was created by one cultural group and, who once started something just out of necessity, just out of a drive to be creative, had no clue
Mm-hmm.
what kind of impact it was going to have on the world. And then by the time we found out what kind of impact we would have, as you guys have both eloquently pointed out, once the money entered into the equation, right? Now the
Yeah.
ownership rights and the control and the distribution and what gets seen and what gets said is no longer within our control. And so some would say that it was hijacked, right? And so regardless of where it currently sits, if you are still rocking with us, just notice that I didn't ask questions about today's hip hop because I didn't want it to turn into it used to be this way and now today is completely trash, or trashing how the genre has changed, trashing how things that went from vinyls to CDs to streaming, et cetera, et cetera. All those things are better suited for a different
Hmm.
conversation. But the point that I hope we nailed and we put on the table for you all to actually think about is that there was a creation of something that became unstoppable, undeniable, and has impacted black and brown peoples from all over the country and now all over the world, because now hip hop is being remixed in the other six continents in totally different ways, and it's continuing to push the envelope, right? So I definitely appreciate
Hmm.
both of you chiming in and giving your perspectives. This is something that I feel like we handled appropriately. It didn't at all turn into a debate. It didn't turn into something where, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Most of what we were all sharing was nostalgia, being in totally different places, but absolutely having the same feeling. It touched us at the core of our
Yeah,
being exact same way. And that's one of the beauties of this genre of music, is that no
it's
matter
all
when you
love.
first, yeah, no matter when you first tiptoed into hip hop, it still pulled your ass into it and you had to swim around in it. And at first you was nervous about it. You didn't know what to make of it. But at some point you found your stroke
Hmm.
and you're like, hey, I'm gonna ride this wave, right? It totally turns you
It's free
into
throw.
it totally turns you into a person that can see and appreciate creativity. It totally turns you into a person that can recognize that there's several layers to who we are as human beings. We might turn on a hip hop song that makes you dance because that's how powerful and influential it is. We might turn on the song that makes you think, what I'm saying? It gives you some game, right? We may turn on a hip hop song that is just the beat that gets you. You ain't even listening to the words. But then we might turn to a song that every single word that their artist is saying is the actual story of your life or expression of the things around you and how you came up. So that's why I wanted to title this, growing up hip hop, because we at the end started talking about whether or not the mannerisms and the mentality is of a grown man's acumen
Hmm.
or not, but we all in some way, shape, or form grew up hip hop, and that's the common place. That's the thing that's a common thing that we can all say is something that we can absolutely appreciate. So, before we log out of here, is there
It's my
anything
turn.
yeah, is there anything you want to say on your way out, Chifa? Pop it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Well, from dealing with this shit for damn near 35 years, brother, I will say this. I loved just making music and having people gravitate for the music I made. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? But the culture I grew up in was everybody blowing blunts and doing this and don't doing that, and they handle their business. But I had rules of engagement in my granny's basement. You have to respect these rules, or you can't come back no more. Type of things, though. Now, what conglomerate America did, though, I ain't gonna name no pink toes, but what they did, though, when they peeped out how much money they could make off of us, like they've been doing for decades, years, and centuries, it was like, okay, so we got this little movement because they control ears and they control their people. So if we go on and sign them on and put them in a better position, same thing with the dope game back in the day in the 80s. Let's give this man, let's let him make the money and supply the neighborhood with this. But I never ever wanted to be that type of artist though. I always wanted to make the truthful music. Like you heard that song DNA, everything that started has a finish. That's when I used to rap though, friend. I don't rap no more. I just sit back here behind the keyboard and do it like this. But hip hop changed so much though. These kids is retarded. And I'll say that these kids are retarded because they don't want to stay in the foundation. They ain't got to. Just shove some money in their face and they take it. And it's painful to watch you. Everything you grew up on just like deteriorate right in front of your face. You be sad. You be 6'9". Man, that boy still walking around. Like that's a hip hop era I come from. My bad. I touched my table. But that's how I was raised, though. I was raised around brothers like you, and I was raised around brothers like you also. But if we don't five-year-old right now, I taught to use these keyboards right here, and the boy's good. It took me 15 minutes to show him all the this how you make a beat. It's a teaching experience, though. You got to teach the next ones, the next generations, this and that. You know what I'm saying? Though, but teach them where you came from. Let them know the history of that joint. Let them know how you started, like you're doing, though, young man. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're 193 years old and still rapping with Jerry's, don't mean nothing. You're a great young man, though, man. I'm proud to know you in my lifetime. And this young man right here, I'm proud to know him too. It's a respect thing. And a lot of brothers out here ain't got no respect for this culture. A lot of sisters, a lot of white folks, I don't care though. Respect it though. But you always target us. You always want to make money off of us. That's why I stayed in this whole time. I don't need no money. I just love the culture of where I came from and making this stuff. I love it though. And that's my 2 pennies and no cents. For real. Is my beanie too high? What's happening? I got something in my face. Shit on my face. I'm messing with y'all, man. Love y'all, brothers, though, man. It's been like, but I'm being honest though. Once money comes into play, I turn it, man, it's not worth it. But the little kids gonna pick it up so they can buy purses. That's what they gonna do. Oh, man, I can give me a new Birkin bag. Little boys and little girls, man. Man, I ain't tricking on no hip hop, man. This shit real to me. Don't talk to me about this. I get sensitive. For real. Don't play with me about this. Yeah, the boy tried to touch my keyboard, didn't know how to make nothing, brother. Let me show you how. I'm a teacher in this stuff right now. After, all the work I didn't put in. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather teach how to make the shit than just go off and just sell out. That's how I look at it. You just sell out, take the money, get raped by Diddy. I ain't gonna do that, man. I ain't gonna get raped by Diddy at a Diddy party. I'm not doing that. That's not fun to me. For real. Is that fun to y'all? It's not fun to me. I rather handle my business, take care of my baby. She can get 50% off of any money I make off of hip hop. That's how you keep that family tie in. I'm a Michael Keaton and a family guy. So call me Peter Griffin. For real. I love my family, man. And that's the reason I still do it to this day. You family too, boy. But you more like a Chris Griffin. I gotta teach you up though, because I ain't heard you rap in years. Come on, man. No, but you more like a Stewie though. I'll give you Stewie though. At least you can go back in time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I
sir.
don't get mad though.
No,
I'm
man,
good.
it's
And
all up.
that's my 2 cents and no
It's all
pennies.
hey, it's all up, man. Listen, hey, man. The beauty of this platform, man, is that hey, we invite everyone to bring and set what they need at the table, man. We'll have a buffet of all kind of ideas, all kind of thoughts, and what have you. So, um, this is the perfect time to exit, man. You know what I'm saying? We acting like we all three
Mhm.
gentlemen that don't have families and responsibilities and other things that we got to do. And it's been a pleasure, man, to just sit face to face and just chop it up with you cats
You know
and talk
what?
about something. Hmm?
You know what I'm about to do? Oops,
What
not
you about
that,
to do,
but
man?
I'm gonna hit it like that.
Hey, I can see what you about to do, man. You about to trigger me.
Wait, I'm on work. I'm on work right now.
I
You need to
I,
go
I
get
know.
one, man.
I
They only
I
what
I
900.
I know where you about to go. You finna trigger me, man. All them years of us putting
Oh
in
man, I'm
work,
about to
man.
blow this building up.
You deleting our tracks, man. Hey, but listen, hey, Chief, man, it's time for us to go ahead and
Music.
wrap it up,
Oh,
man.
this nigga threw that in there on the side,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a taco, it's a
absolutely.
wrap.
Yeah, hey man, absolutely. Hey, so check this out, man. If y'all been rocking with us this long, man, you definitely are rocking with us, man. We appreciate you tuning in, man. We want to diversify the portfolio a little bit and get into some more lighter topics, man. We know that we're in a day and time where there's so much stuff on the news reel and so much stuff going on social media that's negative. But we just wanted to take a little time out, man, and just engage a little nostalgia and sit and talk about something that's been near and dear to each of the three of our hearts. So if you've been rocking with us for this long, man, we appreciate your support. Until the next episode, stay up. Peace.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, bro. All day, though. Everybody be humble.